Heartbreak House, a fantasia in the Russian manner on English themes by George Bernard Shaw. Act 1. The hilly country in the middle of the north edge of Sussex, looking very pleasant on a fine evening at the end of September, is seen through the windows of a room which has been built so as to resemble the after part of an old-fashioned high-pooped ship with a stern gallery, for the windows are ship-built with heavy timbering and run right across the room as continuously as the stability of the wall allows. On the starboard side, but close to the middle, is a plain oak drawing table with drawing board, T-square, straight edges, set squares, mathematical instruments, saucers of watercolor, a tumbler of discolored water, Indian ink, pencils, and brushes on it. A young lady, gloved and hatted with a dust coat on, is sitting in the window seat with her body twisted to enable her to look out at the view. A clock strikes 6. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. With a sigh of weary resignation, she comes to the draughtsman's chair, sits down and begins to read Shakespeare. Presently the book sinks to her lap, her eyes close, and she dozes into a slumber. A woman servant comes in from the hall with 3 unopened bottles of rum on a tray. She places the bottles on the shelf and fills her tray with empty bottles. As she returns with these, the young lady lets her book drop, awakening herself and startling the woman servant so that she all but lets the tray fall.
Oh, God bless us. Oh, sorry to wake you, miss. Oh, I'm sure, but you are a stranger to me. What might you be waiting here for now?
Waiting for somebody to show some signs of knowing that I've been invited here.
Oh, you're invited, are you? And has nobody come? Oh, dear, dear.
A wild-looking old gentleman came and looked in at the window, and I heard him calling out, "Nurse, there is a young and attractive female waiting in the poop. Go and see what she wants." Are you the nurse?
Oh, yes, miss. I'm Nurse Guinness. That was old Captain Shotover, Mrs. Hushabye's father. I heard him roaring, but I thought it was for something else. I suppose it was Mrs. Hushabye that invited you, Ducky.
I understood her to do so, but I really think I'd better go.
Oh, don't think of such a thing, miss. If Mrs. Hushabye has forgotten all about it, it will be a pleasant surprise for her to see you, won't it?
Been a very unpleasant surprise to me to find that nobody expects me.
Oh, you'll get used to it, miss. This house is full of surprises for them that don't know our ways.
Nurse, there's a hold all and a handbag on the front steps for everybody to fall over. Also a tennis racket. Who in the devil left them there?
Well, they are mine, I'm afraid.
Nurse, who is this misguided and unfortunate young lady?
Oh, she says Miss Hessie invited her, sir.
And had she no friend, no parents to warn her against my daughter's invitations? This is a pretty sort of house, by heavens. A young and attractive lady is invited here. Her luggage is left on the steps for hours, and she herself is deposited in the poop, abandoned, tired, and starving. This is our hospitality. There are no manners, no room ready, no hot water, no welcoming hostess. Our visitor is to sleep in the tool shed and wash in the duck pond.
Now, it's all right, Captain. I'll get the lady some tea, and her room shall be ready before she has finished it. Take off your hat, Ducky, and make yourself at home.
Ducky, do you suppose, woman, that because this young lady has been insulted and neglected, you have the right to address her as you address your wretched children, whom you have brought up in ignorance in the commonest decencies of social intercourse?
Never mind him, Dotty.
Madam, will you favour me with your name?
My name is Ellie Dunn.
Dunn. I had a bosun whose name was Dunn. He was originally a pirate in China. He set up as a ship's chandler with stores which I have every reason to believe he stole from me. No doubt he became rich. Are you his daughter?
No, certainly not. I'm proud to be able to say that though my father has not been a successful man, nobody has ever had a word to say against him. And I think my father's the best man I've ever known.
He must be greatly changed. Has he attained the 7th degree of concentration?
I don't understand.
No, but how could he with a daughter? I, madam, have 2 daughters. One of them is Hesione Hushabye, who invited you here. I keep this house, she upsets it. I desire to attain the 7th degree of concentration. She invites visitors and leaves me to entertain them. I have a 2nd daughter who is, thank God, in a remote part of the empire with her numbskull of a husband. As a child, she thought the figurehead of my ship, the Dauntless, the most beautiful thing on the earth. He resembled it, had the same expression, wooden yet enterprising. She married him and will never set foot in this house again.
Oh, for heaven's sake, you are never more mistaken. She is in England this very moment. You have been told 3 times this week that she's coming home for a year for her health. And very glad you should be to see your own daughter.
I am not glad. The natural term of the affection of a human animal for its offspring is 6 years. My daughter, Ariadne, was born when I was 46. I am now 88. If she comes, I am not at home. If she wants anything, let her take it. If she asks for me, tell her that let her be informed that I am extremely old and have forgotten her totally.
No talk to offer to a young lady. Here, Ducky, have some more tea and don't listen to him.
Now, before high heaven, they have given this innocent child Indian tea.
He seizes the cup and teapot and empties both into the leathern bucket.
I'm so tired, I should have been glad of anything.
Oh, what a thing to do! Oh, the poor lamb is ready to drop.
You shall have some of my tea. Do not touch that fly-blown cake. Nobody eats it here except the dogs.
There's a man for you. They say he sold himself to the devil in Zanzibar before he was a captain. And the older he grows, the more I believe them.
Is anyone at home? Hesione? Nurse? Papa? Well, do come somebody and take in my luggage.
Oh, my gracious, it's Miss Addie, Lady Utterword, Mrs. Hushabye's sister, the one I told the captain about. Come in, miss. It was.
Oh, is that you, nurse? How are you? You don't look a day older. Is nobody at home? Where is Hesione? Doesn't she expect me? Where are the servants? Wait, whose luggage is that on the steps? Where's Papa? Is everybody asleep? Oh, I beg your pardon. I suppose you are one of my nieces. Oh, come and kiss your aunt, darling.
I'm only a visitor. It is my luggage on the steps.
Oh,
I'll go get you some fresh tea, Ducky.
But the old gentleman said that he would make some himself.
Oh, bless you. He's forgotten what he went for already. His mind wanders from one thing to another.
Papa, I suppose.
Yes, miss.
Oh, don't be silly, nurse. Don't call me miss.
No, lovey.
Oh, I know what you must feel. Oh, this house. This house. I come back to it after 23 years, and it is just the same. The luggage, lying on the steps. The servants spoiled and impossible. Nobody at home to receive anybody. No regular meals. Nobody hungry because they're always gnawing on bread and butter and munching apples. And what is worse, the same disorder in ideas, in talk, in feeling. Now, when I was a child, I was used to it. I had never known anything else, though I was unhappy and longed all the time. Oh, how I longed to be respectable, to be a lady, to live as others did, not have to think of everything for myself. I married at 19 to escape it. My husband is Sir Hastings Utterword, who has been governor of all the crown colonies in succession. I have always been the mistress of Government House. I have been so happy. I had forgotten that people could live like this. I wanted to see my father, my sister, my nephews and nieces. One ought to, you know. And I was looking forward to it. And now the state of the house, the way I'm received, the casual impudence of that woman Guinness, our old nurse. Really, Hesione might have at least been here. Some preparation might have been made for me. Oh, you must excuse my going on in this way, but I am really very hurt and annoyed and disillusioned, and if I'd realised it was to be like this, I wouldn't have come. I have a great mind to go away without another word.
Nobody has been here to receive me either. I thought I ought to go away too, but how can I, Lady Utterword? My luggage is on the steps and the station fly has gone.
Your tea, young lady. What? Another lady? I must fetch another cup.
Papa! Don't you know me? I'm your daughter.
Nonsense. My daughter's upstairs asleep.
Oh, don't be so distressed. Have this cup of tea. He must be. He's very old and very strange. He's been just like that to me. I know how dreadful it must be. My own father's all the world to me. Oh, I'm sure he didn't mean it.
The captain returns with another cup.
Now we are complete.
Papa, you can't have forgotten me. I'm Ariadne. And little Patty Patkins. Won't you kiss me?
How can you be Ariadne? You are a middle-aged woman, well-preserved, madam, but no longer young.
But think of all the years and years I've been away, Papa. I've had to grow old, like other people.
You should grow old. You should grow out of kissing strange men. They may be striving to attain the 7th degree of concentration.
But I am your daughter. You haven't seen me for years.
So much the worse. When our relatives are at home, we have to think all of their good points, or it would be impossible to endure them. But when they are away, we console ourselves for their absence by dwelling on their vices. That is how I have come to think of my absent daughter, Ariadne, a perfect fiend. So do not try to ingratiate yourself here by impersonating her.
Ingratiate myself, indeed. Very well, Papa.
I am neglecting my social duties. You remember Dunn, Billy Dunn?
Do you mean that villainous sailor who robbed you?
He motions to Ellie.
His daughter.
No.
Nurse Guinness returns with fresh tea.
Take that hogwash away, do you hear?
Oh, you've actually remembered about the tea. Oh, miss, he didn't forget you after all. You have made an impression.
Youth, beauty, novelty, they are badly wanted in this house. I am excessively old. Hesione is only moderately young. Her children are not youthful.
How can children be expected to be youthful in this house? Once before we could speak, we were filled with notions that might have been all very well for pagan philosophers of 50, but were certainly quite unfit for respectable people of any age.
Oh, you were always for respectability, Miss Addie.
Nurse, will you please remember that I am Lady Utterword and not Miss Addie, nor Lovely, nor Darling, nor Dotty. Do you hear?
Yes, Dotty, all right. Tell them all, I'll tell them all that they must call you my lady.
Oh, what comfort! What sense is there in having servants when they have no manners?
Lady Utterword, do you think Mrs. Hushabye really expects me?
Oh, don't ask me. You can see for yourself that I've just arrived, her only sister, after 23 years' absence, and it seems that I am not expected.
What does it matter whether the young lady is expected or not? She is welcome. There are beds, there's food. I'll find a room for her myself.
Oh, please, you don't... Lady Utterword, I don't know what to do. Your father persists in believing that my father is some sailor who robbed him.
Well, you had better pretend not to notice it. My father is a very clever man, but he always forgot things, and now that he is old, of course it is worse. And I must warn you that it is sometimes very hard to feel quite sure that he really forgets.
Mrs.
Ellie, my
Hushabye tempestuously and embraces Ellie.
darling, my pettykins! How long have you been here? I've been at home all the time. I was putting flowers and things in your room, and when I just sat down for a moment to try how comfortable the armchair was, I went off to sleep. Papa woke me and told me you were here. Fancy you finding no one and being neglected and abandoned. Oh, my poor love. Oh, you've brought someone with you. Introduce me.
Hesione, is it possible that you don't know me?
Of course I remember your face quite well. Where have we met?
Didn't Didn't Papa tell you I was here? Oh, this is really too much.
Papa!
Yes, Papa. Our Papa, you unfeeling wretch. I'll go straight to a hotel.
My goodness gracious goodness, you don't mean to say that you're Addie?
I certainly am Addie, and I don't think I can be so changed that you would not have recognised me if you had any real affection for me. And Papa didn't think me even worth mentioning.
What a lark! Sit down! Oh, you do look swell. You're much handsomer than you used to be. You've made the acquaintance of Ellie, of course. She is going to marry a perfect hog of a millionaire for the sake of her father, who's as poor as a church mice. And you must help me to stop her.
Oh, please, Simon.
My pettykins, the man's coming here today with your father to begin persecuting you, and everybody will see the state of the case in 10 minutes, so what's the use of making a secret of it?
It's not a hog, Hesione. You don't know how wonderfully good he was to my father and how deeply grateful I am to him.
Her father is a very remarkable man, Addie. His name is Mazzini Dunn. Mazzini was a celebrity of some kind who knew Ellie's grandparents. They were both poets, like the Brownings. And when her father came into the world, Mazzini said, "Another soldier born for freedom." So they christened him Mazzini, and he has been fighting for freedom in his quiet way ever since. That's why he's so poor.
I'm proud of his poverty.
Of course you are, pettykins. Why not leave him in it and marry someone you love?
Hesione, are you going to kiss me or not?
What do you want to be kissed for?
I don't want to be kissed, but I do want you to behave properly and decently. We are sisters. We've been separated for 23 years. You ought to kiss me.
Tomorrow morning, dear, before you make up. I hate the smell of powder.
Oh, you unfeeling.
Your room is ready. The sheets were damp, but I have changed them.
Oh, what about my sheets?
Take my advice. Air them, or take them off and sleep in blankets. You shall sleep in Ariadne's old room.
Indeed, I shall do nothing of the sort. That little hole. I am entitled to the best spare room.
She married a numbskull. She told me she would marry anyone to get away from this home.
You are pretending not to know me on purpose. I will leave the house.
Alas, Captain Shotover, here is my father.
This? Nonsense, not a bit like him.
I will not be ignored and pretended to be somebody else. I will have it out with Papa now, this instant. Excuse me.
How good of you to come, Mr. Dunn. You don't mind Papa, do you? He is as mad as a hatter, you know, but quite harmless and extremely clever. You will have some delightful talks with him.
I hope so. So here you are, really, dear. I must thank you, Mrs. Hushabye, for your kindness to my daughter. I'm afraid she would have had no holiday at all if you had not invited her.
Not at all. Very nice of her to come and attract young people to the house for us.
I'm afraid Ellie is not interested in young men, Mrs. Hushabye. Her taste is on the graver soldier side.
Won't you take off your overcoat, Mr. Dunn? You will find a cupboard for coats and hats and things in the corner of the hall.
Yes, thank you. I had better...
The old brute.
Who?
Who? Him. He. It. Graver, solider tastes indeed.
You mean that you were speaking like that of my father?
I was. You know I was.
I will leave this house at once.
If you attempt it, I'll tell your father why.
How can you treat a visitor like this, Mrs. Hushabye?
I thought you were going to call me Hesione.
Certainly not now.
Very well. I'll tell your father.
Oh, don't.
If you turn a hair, if you take his part against me and against your own heart for a moment, I'll give that born soldier of freedom a piece of my mind that will stand him on his selfish old head for a week.
Harmony? My father's selfish. How little you know.
Ellie, Mangan has come. I thought you'd like to know. Excuse me, Mrs. Hushabye. The strange old gentleman.
Papa, quite so.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Of course. I was a little confused by his manner. He is making Mangan help him out with something in the garden, and he wants me to. Oh dear.
A powerful whistle is heard.
I believe...
Bosun ahoy!
The whistle is repeated.
I believe he's whistling for me.
Now my father is a wonderful man, if you like.
Diane, listen to me. You don't understand. My father and Mr. Mangan were boys together. Mr.
I
Mangan...
don't care what they were. We must sit down if you're going to begin as far back as that. Now, Pettykins, tell me all about Mr. Mangan. They call him Boss Mangan, don't they? He is a Napoleon of industry and disgustingly rich, isn't he? Why isn't your father rich?
My poor father never should have been in business. His parents were poets, and they gave him the noblest ideas, but they could not afford to give him a profession.
Fancy your grandparents with their eyes in a fine frenzy rolling. And so your poor father had to go into business. Hasn't he succeeded in it?
He always used to say he could succeed if only he had some capital. He fought his way along to keep a roof over our heads and bring us up well, but it was always a struggle, always the same difficulty of not having capital enough. I don't know how to describe it to you.
Poor Ellie, I know, pulling the devil by the tail.
Oh, no, not like that. I mean, it was at least dignified.
That made it all the harder, didn't it? I shouldn't have pulled the devil by the tail with dignity. I should have pulled hard. Well, go on.
At last, it seemed that all our troubles were at an end. Mr. Mangan did an extraordinarily noble thing out of pure friendship for my father and respect for his character. He asked him how much capital he wanted, and he gave it to him. I don't mean that he lent it to him or that he invested in his business. He simply just made a present of it. Wasn't that splendid of him?
On condition that you marry him?
Oh, no. This was when I was a child. He had never even seen me. He never came to our house. He was absolutely disinterested, pure generosity.
Oh, I beg the gentleman's pardon. Well, what became of the money?
Well, we got all new clothes and moved into another house. And I went to another school for 2 years.
Only 2 years?
That was all. For at the end of the 2 years, my father was utterly ruined.
How?
I don't know. I can never understand, but it was dreadful. When we were poor, my father had never been in debt, but when he launched into business on a large scale, he had to incur liabilities. And when the business went to liquidation, he owed more money than Mr. Mangan had given him.
Bit off more than he could chew, I suppose.
I think you are a little unfeeling about it.
My Pettykins, you mustn't mind my way of talking. I was quite as sensitive and particular as you once, but I have picked up so much slang from the children that I am really hardly presentable. I suppose your father had no head for business and made a mess of it.
Oh, well, that just shows how you are entirely mistaken about him. The business turned out to be a great success. It now pays 44% after deducting the excess profits tax.
Then why aren't you rolling in money?
I don't know. And it seems very unfair to me. You see, my father was made bankrupt. It nearly broke his heart because he had persuaded several of his friends to put money into the business. He was sure it would succeed, and events proved that he was quite right. But they all lost their money. It was dreadful, and I don't know what we should have done but for Mr. Mangan.
What? Did the boss come to the rescue again, after all his money being thrown away?
He did, indeed. He never uttered a reproach to my father. He bought what was left of the business, the buildings and the machinery and things, from the official trustee for enough money to enable my father to pay 6 and 8 pence in the pound and get his discharge. Everyone pitied Papa so much and saw so plainly that he was an honourable man that they let him take off at 6 and 8 pence instead of 10 shillings. And then Mr. Mangan started a company to take up the business and made my father a manager in it to save us from starvation, for I wasn't earning anything then.
Quite a romance. And when did the boss develop the tender passion?
Oh, that was years after, quite lately. He took the chair one night at a sort of people's concert, and I was singing there. I was an amateur, half a guinea for expenses and 3 songs with 3 encores. And he was so pleased with my singing that he asked, might he walk home with me? And I never saw anyone so taken aback as he was when I took him home and I introduced him to my father, his own manager. And it was then that my father told me how nobly he had behaved. Of course, it was considered a great chance for me as he's so rich. And we sort of drifted into a sort of understanding. I suppose that I would call it an engagement.
You may have drifted into it, but you will bounce out of it, my Pettykins, if I am to have anything to do with it.
Oh, no. It's no use. I'm bound in honour and gratitude. I will go through with it.
You know, of course, that it's not honourable or grateful to marry a man you don't love. Do you love this Mangan man?
Yes. At least,
I don't want to know about at least, I want to know the worst. Girls of your age fall in love with all sorts of impossible people, especially old people.
I like Mr. Mangan very much. I shall always be forever...
Grateful to him for his kindness to dear father, I know. Anybody else?
What do you mean?
Anybody else? Are you in love with anybody else?
Of course not.
The book on the drawing table catches her eye. She picks it up.
Quite sure you're not in love with an actor?
No, no. Why? Why? What thing put such a thing into your head?
This is yours, isn't it? Why else would you be reading Othello?
My father taught me to love Shakespeare.
Really? Your father does seem to be about the limit.
Never read Shakespeare, Hesione. That seems to be so extraordinary. I like Othello.
Do you indeed? He was jealous, wasn't he?
Oh, no, not that. I think all the part about jealousy is horrible. But don't you think it must have been a wonderful experience for Desdemona, brought up so quietly at home, to meet a man who had been out in the world doing all sorts of brave things and having terrible adventures, and yet finding something in her that made him love to sit and talk with her and tell her about them?
That's your idea of romance, is it?
Well, not romance exactly, but it might really happen.
Ellie, darling, have you noticed that some of those stories that Othello told Desdemona couldn't have happened?
Oh, no. Shakespeare thought they could have happened.
Desdemona thought they could have happened, but they didn't.
Why do you look so enigmatic about it? You're such a sphinx. I never know what you mean.
Desdemona would have found him out if she had lived, you know. I wonder, was that why he strangled her?
Othello was not telling lies.
How do you know?
Shakespeare would have said if he was. Hesione, there are men who've done wonderful things. Men like Othello.
Ah! Now we're coming to it. Tell me all about him. I knew there must be somebody, or you'd never have been so miserable about Mangan. You'd have thought it quite a lark to marry him.
Hesione, you are dreadful. But I don't want to make a secret of it. Though, of course, I don't tell everybody. Besides, I don't know him.
Don't know him? What does that mean?
Well, of course I know him to speak to.
But you want to know him ever so much more intimately, eh?
Oh, no. I know him quite... almost intimately.
You don't know him and you know him almost intimately. How lucid.
I mean that he does not call on us. I got into a conversation with him by chance at a concert.
You seem to have rather a gay time at your concerts, Ellie.
Not at all. We talked to everyone in the green room, waiting for our turns. And I thought he was one of the artists. He looked so splendid. But he was only one of the committee. And I happened to tell him that I was copying a picture at the National Gallery. I make a little money that way. I can't paint much, but as it's always the same picture, I can do it pretty quickly. And I get £2 or £3 for it. And it happened that he came to the National Gallery one day.
On Students' Day. Paid sixpence to stumble about through a crowd of easels when he might have come in next day for nothing and found the floor clear, quite by accident.
No, on purpose. He liked talking to me. He knows lots of the most splendid people, fashionable women who are all in love with him. But he ran away from them to see me at the National Gallery and persuade me to come with him for a drive around Richmond Park in a taxi.
My pettykins, you have been going on. It's wonderful what you good girls can do without anyone saying a word.
I'm not in society, Hesione. If I didn't make acquaintances in that way, I shouldn't have any at all.
Well, no harm if you know how to take care of yourself. May I ask his name?
Marcus Darnley.
Marcus Darnley. What a splendid name.
Oh, I'm so glad you think so. I think so too, but I was afraid it was only a silly fancy of my own.
Is he one of the Aberdeen Darnleys?
Nobody knows. Just fancy. He was found in an antique chest.
A what?
An antique chest. One summer morning in a rose garden after a night of the most terrible thunderstorm.
What on earth was he doing in the chest? Did he get into it because he was afraid of the lightning?
Oh, no. He was a baby. The name Marcus Darnley was embroidered on his baby clothes. And £500 in gold.
Ellie?
The garden of Viscount.
The Rougemont?
No, de la Roche-Jacqueline. A French family. A Vicomte. His life has been one long romance. A tiger.
Slain by his own hand.
Oh, no, nothing vulgar like that. He saved the life of a tiger from a hunting party. One of King Edward's hunting parties in India. And the king was furious. That's why he never had his military services properly recognized. But he doesn't care. He's a socialist and he despises rank. And he has been in 3 revolutions fighting on the barricades.
How can you sit there telling me such lies? You, Ellie, of all people! And I thought you were a perfectly simple, straightforward, good girl.
Do you mean you don't believe me?
Of course I don't believe you. You're inventing every word of it. Do you take me for a fool?
Goodbye, Hesione. I'm very sorry. I see that it sounds very improbable as I tell it, but I can't stay if you think that way, though.
Oh, you shan't go. I couldn't have been so mistaken. I know too well what liars are like. Somebody has really told you all this.
Don't say that you don't believe him. I couldn't bear that.
Of course I believe him, dearest. But you should have broken it to me by degrees. Now, tell me all about him. Are you in love with him?
Oh, no, I'm not so foolish. I don't fall in love with people. I'm not as silly as you think.
I see. Only something to think about, to give some interest and pleasure to life.
Just so. That's all, really.
It makes the hours go so fast, doesn't it? No tedious waiting to go to sleep at night and wondering whether you'll have a bad night. How delightful it makes waking up in the morning. How better than the happiest dream, all life transfigured. No more wishing one had an interesting book to read, because life is so much happier than any book. No desire but to be alone and not to have to talk to anyone, to be alone and just think about it.
Hesione, you are a witch. How do you know? Oh, you're the most sympathetic woman in the world.
Oh, Pettikins, my Pettikins, how I envy you, and how I pity you.
Pity me? Oh, why? Oh, Hesione, this is Mr. Marcus Darnley.
Oh, what a lark! He is my husband!
But now...
Ellie turns pale and sways. Mrs. Hushabye catches her, sitting down with her on the sofa.
Oh, steady, my Pettikins.
My real name is Dunn, is Hector Hushabye. I leave you to judge whether that is a name any sensitive man would care to confess to. I never use it when I can possibly help it. I have been away for nearly a month, and I have no idea you knew my wife, or that you were coming here. I am nonetheless delighted to find you in our little house.
I don't know what to do. Please, may I speak to Papa? Do leave me. I can't bear it.
Be off, Hector. Quick, get out.
If you think it better.
Now, Pettikins, he is gone. There's nobody but me. You can let yourself go. Don't try to control yourself. Have a good cry.
Damn.
Splendid! Oh, what a relief. I thought you were going to be broken-hearted. Never mind me. Damn him again.
Well, I'm not damning him. I'm damning myself for being such a fool. How could I let myself been so taken in?
Why not, Pettikins? Very few young women can resist Hector. I couldn't when I was your age. He is really rather splendid, you know.
Splendid? Yes, splendid looking, of course, but how can you love a liar?
I don't know. But you can, fortunately. Otherwise, there wouldn't be much love in the world.
But to lie like that, to be a boaster, a coward.
Oh, Pettikins, none of that, if you please. If you hint the slightest doubt of Hector's courage, he will go straight off and do the most horribly dangerous things to convince himself that he isn't a coward. He has a dreadful trick of getting out of one window, one third-floor window, and coming in at another, just to test his nerve. He has a whole drawer full of Albert medals for saving people's lives.
Oh, he never told me that.
He never boasts of anything he really did. He can't bear it. It makes him shy if anyone else does. All his stories are made-up stories.
Do you mean that he is really brave and really has adventures, and yet tells lies about things that he never did and never happened?
Yes, Pettikins, I do. People don't have their virtues and vices in sets. They have them anyhow, all mixed up.
There's something odd about this house. Hesione, even about you. I don't know why I'm talking to you so calmly. I have a horrible fear that my heart is broken, but heartbreak is not like what I thought it'd be.
It's only life educating you, Pettikins. How do you feel about Boss Mangan now?
Ugh, how can you remind me of him, Hesione?
Sorry, dear. I think I hear Hector coming back. You don't mind now, do you?
Not in the least. I'm quite cured.
1 second more and she would have been a dead woman.
Dear, dear, what an escape. Anyway, my love, Mr. Hushabye has just been telling me the most extraordinary...
Yes, I've heard it.
Not this one. I'll tell it to you after dinner. I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
The truth is, I made it up for you and was looking forward to the pleasure of telling it to you. But in a moment of impatience at being turned down in the room, I threw it away on your father.
It was not thrown away. He believes it. I should not have believed it.
Ellie is very naughty, Mr. Hushabye. Of course, she does not really think that.
Says his name is Mangan, not able-bodied.
How do you do, Mr. Mangan?
Very pleased.
Dunn's lost his muscle but recovered his nerve. Men seldom do after 3 attacks of delirium tremens.
I congratulate you, Mr. Dunn.
I am a lifelong teetotaler.
Oh, you will find it far less trouble to let Papa have his own way than try to explain.
But 3 attacks of delirium tremens, really?
Do you know my husband, Mr. Mangan?
Oh, very pleased. I hope, Miss Ellie, you're not found the journey down too fatiguing.
Hector, show Mr. Dunn his room.
Certainly. Come along, Mr. Dunn.
You haven't shown me my room yet, Simon.
Oh, how stupid of me. Come along. Make yourself quite at home, Mr. Mangan. Papa will entertain you. Papa, come and explain the house to Mr. Mangan.
You're going to marry Dunn's daughter.
Yeah.
Don't. You're too old.
Well, that's fairly blunt, Captain.
It's true.
No, she doesn't think so.
She does.
Older men than I.
Made fools of themselves. That also is true.
Well, I don't see how it's any of your business.
It is everybody's business. The stars in their courses are shaken when such things happen.
Well, I'm going to marry her all the same.
How do you know?
Well, I intend to. And I mean to. See, I never make up my mind to do anything yet that I didn't bring off. That's the sort of man I am. And there will be a better understanding between us when you make up your mind to that, Captain.
You frequent picture palaces.
Well, perhaps I do. Who told you?
Talk like a man, not like a movie. You mean that you make 100,000 a year?
No, I don't boast. But when I meet a man who makes 100,000 a year, I take off my hat to that man, stretch out my hand to him, and call him brother.
Then you also make 100,000 a year, eh?
No, I can't say that. 50,000, perhaps.
His half-brother only.
Now, see here, Captain Shotover. I don't quite understand my position here. I come here on your daughter's invitation. Am I in her house or yours?
You are beneath the dome of heaven in the house of God. What is true within these walls is true outside of them. Go out on the seas, climb the mountains, wander through the valleys. She is still too young.
But I'm very little over 50.
You are still less under 60. Boss Mangan, you will not marry the pirate's child.
What pirate's child? What are you talking about?
Ellie Dunn, you will not marry her.
Ha! Who will stop me?
My daughter.
Mrs. Hushabye. Do you mean she brought me down here to break it off?
I know nothing more than I have seen in her eyes. She will break it off.
Oh, this is queer. Now to walk out of this house.
Why?
Well, many men would be offended with your style of talking.
Oh, nonsense. It's the other sort of talking that makes quarrels. Nobody ever quarrels with me.
Excuse my intruding in this fashion, but there's no knocker at the door and the bell does not seem to ring.
Why should there be a knocker? Why should the doorbell ring? The door is open.
Precisely. So I ventured to come in.
Quite right. Well, I'll see about a room for you.
But I'm afraid you don't know who I am.
Do you suppose that at my age I make distinctions between one fellow creature and another?
Strange character, Captain Shotover, sir.
Very.
Hesione, another person has arrived and wants a room. A man about town, well-dressed, 50.
Fancy Hesione's feelings. May I ask, are you a member of the family?
No.
I am. At least a connection.
How do you do? How good of you to come.
I am very glad indeed to make your acquaintance, Hesione. You will excuse my kissing your daughter, Captain, when I tell you that...
Ah, stuff. Everyone kisses my daughter. Kiss her as much as you like.
Thank you. One moment, Captain. Do you happen to remember, but probably you don't, as it occurred many years ago, that your younger daughter married a numbskull?
Yes. She said she'd marry anybody to get away from this house. I should not have recognized you. Your head is no longer like a walnut. Your aspect is softened. You've been boiled in bread and milk for years and years, like other married men. Poor devil.
I don't believe you are Hastings Utterword.
I am not.
Then what business had you to kiss me?
I thought I would like to. The fact is, I'm Randall Utterword, the unworthy younger brother of the Hastings. I was abroad diplomatizing when he was married.
Hesione, where is the key of the wardrobe in my room? My diamonds are in my dressing bag. I must lock it up. Randall, how dare you?
How dare I what? I'm not doing anything.
Who told you I was here?
Hastings, you had just left when I called on you at Claridge's, so I followed you down here.
Oh.
You are looking extremely well.
Don't presume to tell me so.
What is wrong with Mr. Randall, Addie?
Oh, nothing. But he has no right to come bothering you and Papa without being invited.
I think you have not met Mr. Mangan, Addie.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Randall, you've flustered me so I make a perfect fool of myself.
Lady Utterword, my sister, my younger sister.
Pleased to meet you, Lady Utterword.
Who is that gentleman walking in the garden with Miss Dunn?
I don't know. She quarrelled mortally with my husband only 10 minutes ago, and I didn't know anyone else had come. It must be a visitor. Oh, it is Hector. Oh, they've made it up.
Your husband? Oh, that handsome man.
Well, why shouldn't my husband be a handsome man?
One's husband never is, Ariadne.
One's sister's husband always is, Mr. Randall.
Don't be vulgar, Randall. And you, Hesione, you're just as bad.
Hector, this is Addie.
Not this lady.
Why not?
I beg your pardon, Lady Utterword. I am extremely glad to welcome you at last under our roof.
She wants to be kissed, Hector.
Hesione.
Call her Addie and kiss her like a good brother-in-law and have done with it.
Behave yourself, Hesione. Lady Utterword is entitled not only to hospitality, but to civilization.
Thank you, Hector.
Your father has what? Your father has washed himself.
He often does, Captain Shotover.
A strange conversion. I saw him through the pantry window.
Mr. Mazzini Dunn, Lady... oh, I forgot. You've met Miss Dunn.
Yes, I have met Miss Dunn also. She's my daughter.
Of course, how stupid. Mr. Utterword, my sister's,
Her brother-in-law, Mr. Dunn. How do you do?
This is my husband.
We have met, dear. Don't introduce us anymore. Won't you sit down, Lady Utterword?
Sorry, I hate it. It's like making people show their tickets.
How little it tells us. After all, the great question is not who we are, but what we are.
Ah, what are you?
What am I?
A thief, a pirate, and a murderer.
I assure you, sir, you are mistaken.
An adventurous life, but what does it in the end? Respectability, a ladylike daughter, the language and appearance of a city missionary. Let it be a warning to all of you.
I hope nobody here believes that I am a thief, a pirate, or a murderer. Mrs. Hushabye, will you excuse me a moment? I really must go and explain.
It's no use. You'd really... We had better all go out and look for some tea. We never have regular tea, but you can always get some when you want. The servants keep it stewing all day. The kitchen veranda's the best place to ask. May I show you?
Thank you. I don't think I'll take any tea this afternoon. What if you'll show me the garden?
Oh, there's nothing to see in the garden except Papa's observatory and a gravel pit with a cave where he keeps dynamite and things of that sort. However, it's pleasanter out of doors, so come along.
Dynamite? Isn't that rather risky?
Well, we don't sit in the gravel pit when there's a thunderstorm.
That's something new. What is the dynamite for?
To blow up the human race if it goes too far. He is trying to discover a psychic ray that will explode all the explosives at the well of Mahatma.
The captain's tea is delicious, Mr. Utterword.
You mean to say that you had some of my father's tea? Then you got round him before you were 10 minutes in the house.
I did.
You little devil.
Won't you come, Miss Ellie?
I'm too tired. I'll take a book up to my room and rest a little.
Right. You can do better, but I'm disappointed.
Hector and Lady Utterword look at Ellie, waiting for her to go. Ellie looks at the title of a book.
Do you like stories of adventure, Lady Utterword?
Of course, dear.
Well, then I'll leave you to Mr. Hushabye.
That girl is mad about tales of adventure. The lies I have to tell her.
When you saw me, what did you mean by saying that you thought and then stopping short? What did you think?
May I tell you?
Of course.
I will not sound very civil. I was on the point of saying, I thought you were a plain woman.
Oh, for shame, Hector. What right had you to notice whether I'm plain or not?
Listen to me, Ariadne. Until today, I have seen only photographs of you, and no photograph can give the strange fascination of the daughters of the supernatural old man. There is some damnable quality in them that destroys men's moral sense and carries them beyond honor and dishonor. You know that, don't you?
Perhaps I do, Hector. But let me warn you once for all that I am a rigidly conventional woman. You may think because I'm a Shotover that I'm a bohemian because we are all so horribly bohemian, but I am not. I hate and loathe bohemianism. No child brought up in a strict Puritan household ever suffered from Puritanism as I have suffered from our bohemianism.
Our children are like that. They spend their holidays in the houses of the respectable schoolfellows.
I shall invite them for Christmas.
Their absence leaves us both without our natural chaperones.
Children are certainly very inconvenient sometimes, but intelligent people can always manage, unless they are bohemians.
You are no bohemian. You are no Puritan either. Your attraction is alive and powerful. What sort of woman do you count yourself?
I am a woman of the world, Hector. And I can assure you that if you will only take the trouble always to do the perfectly correct thing and to say the perfectly correct thing, you can do just what you like. An ill-conducted, careless woman gets simply no chance. An ill-conducted, careless man is never allowed within arm's length of any woman worth knowing.
I see. You are neither a bohemian woman nor a Puritan woman. You are a dangerous woman.
On the contrary, I'm a safe woman.
You are a most accursedly attractive woman. Mind, I am not making love to you. I do not like being attracted. But you had better know how I feel if you are going to stay here.
You are exceedingly clever, Lady Killer Hector, and terribly handsome. I am quite a good player myself at that game. Is it quite understood that we are only playing?
Quite. I am deliberately playing the fool out of sheer worthlessness.
Well, you are my brother-in-law. Hesione asked you to kiss me.
He seizes her in his arms and kisses her strenuously. Pushes him suddenly away.
That was a little more than play, brother-in-law. You shall not do that again.
In effect, you got your claws deeper into me than I intended.
Don't let me disturb you. I only want a cap to put on Daddiest. The sun is setting and he'll catch cold.
Your husband is quite charming, darling. He has actually condescended to kiss me at last. I shall go into the garden. It's cooler now.
Take care, dear child. I don't believe any man can kiss Addie without falling in love with her.
Fool. Goat. Your sister is an extremely enterprising old girl. Where's Miss Dunn?
Mangan says she's gone up to her room for a nap. Addie won't let you talk to Ellie. She has marked you for her own.
She has the diabolical family fascination. I began making love to her automatically. What am I to do? I can't fall in love. I can't hurt a woman's feelings by telling her so when she falls in love with me. And as women are always falling in love with my mustache, I get landed in all sorts of tedious and terrifying flirtations of which I am not a bit in earnest.
Oh, neither is Addie. She has never been in love in her life, though she has always been trying to fall in head over ears. She is worse than you because you had one real go, at least, with me.
That was a confounded madness. I can't believe that such an amazing experience is common. It has left its mark on me. I believe that it is why I have never been able to repeat it.
We were frightfully in love with one another, Hector. It was such an enchanting dream that I have never been able to grudge it to you or anyone else since. I have invited all sorts of pretty women to the house on the chance of giving you another turn, but it has never come off.
I don't know what I want. I don't know that I want it to come off. It was a damned dangerous. You fascinated me, but I loved you. So it was heaven. This sister of yours fascinates me, but I hate her. So it is hell. I shall kill her if she persists.
Nothing will kill Addie. She is as strong as a horse. Now, I'm going off to fascinate somebody.
The Foreign Office toff? Randall?
Good gracious, no. Why should I fascinate him?
I presume you don't mean the bloated capitalist Mangan.
I think he had better be fascinated by me than by Ellie. Oh, what have you there, Daddiest?
Dynamite.
You've been to the gravel pit. Don't drop it about the house, there's a dear.
Listen, Osage. How long dare you concentrate on a feeling without risking having it fixed in your consciousness all the rest of your life?
90 minutes. Half an hour.
Hector, left alone, contracts his brows and falls into a daydream. He does not move for some time. Suddenly he snatches his walking stick from the teak table and draws it, for it is a sword stick. He fights a desperate duel with an imaginary antagonist and after many vicissitudes runs him through the body up to the hilt. He looks straight into the eyes of an imaginary woman, seizes her by the arms and says,
"Do you love me?"
The captain comes out of the pantry at this moment, and Hector, caught with his arms stretched out and his fists clenched, has to account for his attitude by going through a series of gymnastic exercises.
That sort of strength is no good. You will never be as strong as a gorilla.
What's the dynamite for?
To kill fellows like Mangan.
No use. They will always be able to buy more dynamite than you.
I will make a dynamite he cannot explode.
And that you can, eh?
Yes, when I have attained the 7th degree of concentration.
What's the use of that? You never do attain it.
When then is it to be done? Are we to be kept forever in the mud by these hogs to whom the universe is nothing but a machine for greasing their bristles and filling their snouts?
Are Mangan's bristles worse than Randall's lovelocks?
We must win powers of life and death over them both. I refuse to die until I have invented the means.
Who are we that we should judge them?
What are they that they should judge us? Yet they do unhesitatingly. There is enmity between our seed and their seed. They know it and act on it, strangling our souls. They believe in themselves. When we believe in ourselves, we shall kill them.
It is the same seed. You forgot that your pirate has a very nice daughter. Mangan's son may be a Plato, Randall's a Shelley. What was my father?
The damnedest scoundrel I ever met.
Precisely. Well, dare you kill his innocent grandchildren?
They are mine also.
Just so. We are members of one another. I tell you, I have often thought of this killing of human vermin. Many men have thought of it. Decent men are like Daniel and the lion's den. Their survival is a miracle, and they do not always survive. We live among the Mangans and Randalls and Billy Dunns as they, poor devils, live among the deceased germs and the doctors and the lawyers and the parsons and the restaurant chefs and the tradesmen and the servants and all the rest of the parasites and blackmailers. What are our terrors to theirs? Give me to the power to kill them, and I'll spare them in sheer.
Fellow feeling?
No, I should kill myself if I believe that. I must believe that my spark, small as it is divine, and that the red light over their door is hellfire. I should spare them in simple, magnanimous pity.
You can't spare them until you have the power to kill them. At present, they have the power to kill you.
They are too stupid to use their power.
Oh, do not deceive yourself. They do use it. We kill the better half of ourselves every day to propitiate them. The knowledge that these people are there to render all our aspirations bare and prevents us having the aspirations. And when we are tempted to seek their destruction, they bring forth demons to delude us, disguised as pretty daughters and singers and poets and the like, for whose sake we spare them.
May not Hesione be such a demon, brought forth by you, lest I should slay you?
That is possible. She has used you up and left you nothing but dreams, as some women do.
Vampire women? Demon women?
Men think the world well lost for them and lose it accordingly. Who are the men that do things? The husbands of the shrew and of the drunkard, the men with the thorn in the flesh. I must think these things out. But I go on with the dynamite nonetheless. I will discover a ray mightier than any X-ray, a mind ray that will explode the ammunition in the belt of my adversary before he can point his gun at me. But I must hurry. I am old. I have no time to waste in talk.
Daddiest, you and Hector must come and help me entertain all these people. What on earth were you shouting about?
He's madder than usual.
We all are.
I must change.
Stop! Come back, both of you. Come back. Money is running short.
Money? Where are my April dividends?
Where is the snow that fell last year?
Where is all the money you had for that patent lifeboat I invented?
£500, and I have made it last since Easter.
Since Easter, barely 4 months. Monstrous extravagance. I could live for 7 years on £500.
Not keeping open houses we do here, Daddiest.
Only £500 for that lifeboat. I got 12,000 for the invention before that.
Yes, dear, but that was for the ship with the magnetic keel that sucked up submarines. Living at the rate we do, you cannot afford life-saving inventions. Can't you think of something that will murder half Europe at one bang?
No, I'm aging fast. My mind does not dwell on slaughter as it did when I was a boy. Well, why doesn't your husband invent something? He does nothing but tell lies to women.
Well, that is a form of invention, is it not? However, you are right. I have to support my wife.
Oh, indeed, you shall do nothing of the sort. I should never see you from breakfast to dinner. I want my husband.
I might as well be your lapdog.
Do you want to be my breadwinner, like the other poor husbands?
No, by thunder. What a damned creature a husband is anyhow.
What about that harpoon cannon?
No use. It kills whales, not men.
Why not? You fire the harpoon out of a cannon, it sticks in the enemy's general, you wind him in, and there you are.
You are your father's daughter, Society.
There is something in it. Not to wind in generals, they are not dangerous. But one could fire a grapnel and wind in a machine gun or even a tank. I will think it out.
Saved! You are darling Daddiest. Now, we must go back to these dreadful people and entertain them.
They have had no dinner, don't forget that.
Neither have I. It is dark. It must be all ours.
Oh, Guinness will produce some sort of dinner for them. The servants always take jolly good care that there is food in the house.
What a house! What a daughter!
What a father!
What a husband!
Is there no thunder in heaven?
Is there no beauty, no bravery on earth?
What do men want? They have their food, their firesides, their clothes mended, and our love at the end of the day. Why are they not satisfied? Why do they envy us the pain with which we bring them into the world, and make strange dangers and torments for themselves to be even with us?
I builded a house for my daughters, and opened the doors thereof, that men might come for their choosing, and their better spring from their love. But one of them married a numbskull.
The other a liar wed.
And now she must lie beside him, even as she made her bed.
Hesione, where are you?
The cat is on the tiles.
Coming, darling, coming!
Shall I turn up the lights for you?
No, give me deeper darkness. Money is not made in the light.
Act 2. The same room with the lights turned up and the curtains drawn.
Oh, what a dinner. I don't call it a dinner, I call it a meal.
I am accustomed to meals, Mr. Mangan, and I'm very lucky to get them. Besides, the captain cooks the macaroni for me.
It's too rich, too rich. Can't eat such things. I suppose it's because I work so much with my brain. And that's the worst thing of being a man of business. You're always thinking. By the way, now that we're alone, may I take the opportunity to come to a little understanding with you?
Certainly. I should like to.
Should you? Oh, that surprises me. For I thought I noticed this afternoon that you avoided me all you could. It's not for the first time either.
I was very tired and upset. I wasn't used to the ways of this extraordinary house. Please forgive me.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't mind. Captain Shotover has been talking to me about you. You and me, you know.
The captain, what did he say?
Well, he noticed the difference between our ages.
Oh, well, he notices everything.
You don't mind, then?
Of course, I know quite well that our engagement is...
Oh, you call it an engagement?
Well, isn't it?
Yes, no doubt, no doubt. It is if you hold to it. It's the first time you've used the word. I didn't quite know where we stood, that's all. Well, you were saying.
Was it? I forget. Tell me. Do you like this part of the country? I heard you ask Mr. Hushabye at dinner whether there are any nice houses to let down here.
I like the place. Yeah. The air suits me. I shouldn't be surprised if I settled down here.
Oh, nothing would please me better. The air suits me too, and I want to be near Hesione.
Yes, well, the air may suit us. The question is, should we suit one another? Have you thought about that?
Mr. Mangan, we must be sensible, mustn't we? It's no use pretending that we are Romeo and Juliet, but we can get on very well together if we choose to make the best of it. Your kindness of heart will make it easy for me.
Kindness of heart. I ruined your father, didn't I?
Oh, not intentionally.
No, yes, I did. I ruined him on purpose.
On purpose?
Not of ill nature, you know. And you'll admit that I kept his job for him when I'd finished with him, but business is business, and I ruined him as a matter of business.
But I don't understand how that can be. Are you trying to make me feel that I need not be grateful to you so that I may choose freely?
No. I mean what I say.
But how could it possibly do you any good to ruin my father? The money he lost was yours.
It was mine. It is mine, Miss Ellie. And all the money of the other fellows lost too. I just smoked them out like a hive of bees. And what do you say to that, huh? Yeah, it's a bit of a shock, eh?
It would have been this morning. And now you can't think how little it matters. But it's quite interesting. Only you must explain it to me. I don't understand.
Well, of course you don't understand. I mean, what do you know about business? You just listen and learn. You see, your father's business was a new business. I don't start businesses. I let other fellows start them. They put up all the money and their friends' money into starting them. They wear out their souls and bodies just trying to make a success of them. They're what you call enthusiasts. But for the first dead lift of the thing, it's too much for them. And they haven't enough financial experience in a year or so. They've either let the whole show go bust or they'll sell out to a new lot of fellows for deferred ordinary shares. Yeah, that is, if they're lucky enough to get anything at all. As likely as not, the same thing happens to the new lot. They put in more money and a couple of years more work, and then perhaps they have to sell to a third lot. It's really a big thing. The third lot will have to sell out too and leave their work and their money behind them. And that's where the real businessman comes in, where I come in. Yeah, but I'm cleverer than some. I don't mind dropping a little money to start the process. So I took your father's measure. I saw that he had a sound idea and that he could work himself silly for it if he got the chance. And I say, yeah, I saw he was a child in business, and I was dead certain to outrun his expenses and be in a great hurry to wait for his market. I knew that the surest way to ruin a man who doesn't know how to handle money is to give him some. So I explained my idea to my friends in the city, and they found the money, for I take no risks in ideas, even when they're my own. And your father and the friends that ventured their money with him were no more than a heap of squeezed lemons. You've been wasting your gratitude. My kind heart is all rot. I'm sick with it. When I see your father beaming with his moist, grateful eyes, regularly wallowing in gratitude, I sometimes feel I must tell him the truth or burst. What stops me is that I know he wouldn't believe me. He thinks it would be my modesty, as you did just now. He thinks anything rather than the truth, which is, he is a blamed fool. And I'm a man who knows how to take care of himself. Now, what do you think of me, Miss Ellie?
How strange. That my mother, who knew nothing at all about business, should have been quite right about you. She always said, not before Papa, of course, but to us children, that you were just that sort of man.
Oh, did she? And yet, she would let you marry me.
Well, you see, Mr. Mangan, my mother married a very good man. But whatever you may think of my father as a businessman, he is the soul of goodness. And she is not at all keen on my doing the same.
Anyway, you don't want to marry me now, do you?
Oh, I think so. Why not?
Why not?
I don't see why we shouldn't get on very well together.
But look here, you know.
Well,
I thought you're rather peculiar about people's characters.
if we women were peculiar or particular about men's characters, we should never get married at all, Mr. Mangan.
Oh, child like you, talking of we women. What next? You're not in earnest.
Yes, I am. Aren't you?
You mean to hold me to it?
Do you wish to back out of it?
Oh, no, not exactly. Back out of it.
Well,
suppose I told you that I was in love with another woman.
suppose I told you I was in love with another man.
I am not joking.
Who told you I was?
I tell you, I'm serious. You are too young to be serious, but you will have to believe me. I want to be near your friend, Mrs. Hushabye. I'm in love with her. There. Now the murder's out.
I want to be near your friend, Mr. Hushabye. I'm in love with him. And now we are in another's confidence, and we shall be real friends. Thank you for telling me.
But do you think I'll be made a convenience of like this?
Oh, Mr. Mangan, you made a business convenience of my father. Well, a woman's business is marriage. So why shouldn't I make a domestic convenience of you?
Because I don't choose, see? Because I'm not a silly girl like your father, that's why.
Oh, you are not good enough to clean my father's shoes, Mr. Mangan. And I'm paying you a great compliment in condescending to make a convenience of you, as you call it. Of course, you are free to throw over our engagement if you like, but if you do, you'll never enter Hesiane's house again.
Oh.
I will take care of that.
Oh, you little devil! Oh, you've done me. Oh, wait a bit, though. You're not as cute as you think. You can't beat Boss Mangan as easy as that. Suppose I go straight to Mr. Hushabye and tell him that you're in love, Mrs. Hushabye, and tell her that you're in love with her husband.
She knows it.
You told her?
You told me.
God! This is a crazy house! First, I'm going to clean off my chump. Is she making a swap with you? She to have your husband and you to have hers?
Well, you don't want us both, do you?
No, my brain won't stand it. My head's going to split. Help me, oh, quick, help me. Help me, quick, just squeeze it. Squeeze it, save me.
Ellie clasps his head hard for a moment, then begins to draw her hands from his forehead back to his ears.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. That is very refreshing. Yeah, but, don't you hypnotize me, though. I've seen men made fools by hypnotism.
Be quiet. I've seen men made fools without hypnotism.
You don't dislike touching me, I hope. You've never touched me before, I notice.
Not since you fell in love naturally with a grown-up, nice woman. I'll never expect you to make love to her. And I will never expect him to make love to me.
He may, though.
Hush. Go to sleep. Do you hear? You are to go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Be quiet. Deeply, deeply quiet. Sleep. 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 Sleep.
He falls asleep. Ellie steals away, turns the light out, and goes into the garden.
Mr. Mangan's not here. Oh, but it's all dark. Ducky, there's no one here. It's all dark.
By the garden. Mr. Dunn and I will be in my boudoir. Show him the way.
Yes, Ducky.
She makes for the garden door in the dark, stumbles over the sleeping Mangan.
Oh, good Lord, sir. Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm sure I didn't see in the dark. Who is it?
She turns on the light.
Oh, Mr. Mangan, sir. I hope I haven't hurt you, plumping into your lap like that. I was looking for you, sir. Mrs. Hushabye says, will you please... Oh, my good Lord. I hope I haven't killed him. Sir? Sir, Mr. Mangan, sir? Oh, Miss Hesse! Miss Hesse! Quick, Dottie, darling, Miss Hesse! Oh, Miss Hesse, I've been and killed him.
What tempted you to commit such a crime, woman?
Do you mean you did it on purpose?
Oh, now, is it likely I kill any man on purpose? I fell over him in the dark, and I'm a pretty tidy weight. He never spoke nor moved until I shook him, and then he would have dropped dead on the floor. Oh, isn't it tiresome?
Nonsense. He is not dead. He is only asleep. I can see him breathing.
But why won't he wake?
Mangan, my dear Mangan.
That's no good. Mr. Mangan, wake up! Do you hear? Oh, nurse, he's falling. Help me.
Nurse Guinness rushes to the rescue with Mangan's assistance. Mangan is propped safely up again.
Would he be drunk, do you think, sir?
Any of Papa's rum?
It can't be that. He is most abstemious. I'm afraid he drank too much formerly and has to drink too little now. You know, Miss Hushabye, I really think he's been hypnotized.
Hypno what, sir?
One evening at home, after we had seen a hypnotizing performance, the children began playing at it, and Ellie stroked my head. I assure you, I went off dead asleep, and they had to send for a professional to wake me up after I had slept 18 hours. They had to carry me upstairs, and as the poor children were not very strong, they let me slip, and I rolled right down the whole flight and never woke up. You may laugh, Mrs. Hushabye, but I might have been killed.
Oh, I couldn't have helped laughing even if you had been Mr. Dunn. So Ellie has hypnotized him. What fun!
Oh, no. It was such a terrible lesson to her. Nothing would induce her to try such a thing again.
Then who didn't? Who did it? I didn't.
I thought perhaps the captain might have done it unintentionally. He is so fearful and magnetic. I feel vibrations whenever he comes close to me.
The captain will get him out of it anyhow, sir. I'll back him for that. I'll go fetch him.
Wait a bit. You say he is all right for 18 hours?
Well, I was asleep for 18 hours.
Were you any the worse for it?
I don't remember. They poured brandy down my throat, you see, and...
Quite. Anyhow, you survived. Nurse, darling, go and ask Miss Dunn to come to us here. Say I want to speak to her particularly. You will find her with Mr. Hushabye, probably.
I think not, Lockie. Miss Addie is with him, but I'll find her and send her to you.
Now, Mr. Dunn, look.
Yes.
Just look. Look hard. Do you still intend to sacrifice your daughter to that thing?
You've completely upset me, Miss Hushabye, by all you have said to me. That anyone could imagine that I, a consecrated soldier of freedom, if I may say so, could sacrifice Ellie to anybody or anyone, or that I should have dreamed of forcing her inclinations in any way. It's the most painful blow to my, well, I suppose you could say, to my good opinion of myself.
Sorry.
What is your objection to poor Mangan, Mrs. Hushabye? He looks all right to me, but then I am so accustomed to him.
Have you no heart? Have you no sense? Look at the brute. Think of poor, weak, innocent Ellie in the clutches of this slave driver who spends his life making thousands of rough, violent workmen bend to his will and sweat for him. A man accustomed to have great masses of iron beaten into shape for him by steam hammers. To fight with women and girls over a halfpenny an hour, ruthlessly. A captain of industry, I think you call him, don't you? Are you going to fling your delicate, sweet, helpless child into such a beast's claws just because he will keep her in an expensive house and make her wear diamonds to show how rich he is?
Bless you, my dear Mrs. Hushabye, what romantic ideas you have. Poor dear Mangan isn't a bit like that.
Poor dear Mangan, indeed.
But he doesn't know anything about machinery. He never goes near them, and he couldn't manage them. He's afraid of them. I can never get him to take the least interest in the works. He hardly knows more about them than you do. People are so cruelly unjust to Mangan. They think he is all rugged strength just because his manners are bad.
Do you mean to tell me he isn't strong enough to crush poor little Ellie?
Well, of course, it's very hard to say how any marriage will turn out, but speaking for myself, I should say he won't have a dog's chance against Ellie. You know, Ellie has remarkable strength of character. I think it is because I taught her to like Shakespeare when she was very young.
Shakespeare? The next thing you will tell me is that you could have made a great deal more money than Mangan.
No, I'm no good at making money. I don't care for it somehow. Not ambitious. Well, that must be it. Mangan is wonderful about money. He thinks of nothing else. He's so dreadfully afraid of being poor. I'm always thinking about other things. Even at the works, I think of the things we are doing and not of what they cost. And the worst of it is poor Mangan doesn't know what to do with his money when he gets it. He's such a baby that he doesn't even know what to eat and drink at all. He's ruined his liver eating and drinking the wrong things, and now he can hardly eat at all. Ellie will diet him splendidly. You'll be surprised when you come to know him better. He's really the most helpless of mortals. You get a protective feeling towards him.
Then who manages his business, pray?
I do. And, of course, other people like me.
Footling people, you mean?
I suppose you'd think us so.
And pray, why don't you do without him, if you're all so much cleverer?
Oh, we couldn't. We should ruin the business in a year. I've tried, I know. We should spend too much on everything. We should improve the quality of the goods and make them too dear. We should be sentimental about the hard cases among the work people. But Mangan keeps us in order. He's down on us about every extra halfpenny. We could never do without him. You see, he'll sit up all night thinking of how to save sixpence. Won't Ellie make him jump, though, when she takes his house in hand?
Then the creature is a fraud, even as a captain of industry.
I'm afraid all the captains of industry are what you call frauds, Mrs. Hushabye. Of course, there are some manufacturers who really do understand their works, but they don't make as high a rate of profit as Mangan does. I assure you, Mangan is quite a good fellow in his way. He means well.
He doesn't look well. He is not in his first youth, is he?
After all, no husband is in his first youth for very long, Mrs. Hushabye. And men can't afford to marry in their first youth nowadays.
Now, if I said that, it would sound witty. Why can't you say it wittily? What on earth is the matter with you? Why don't you inspire confidence? Everybody with confidence, with respect.
Well, I think that what is the matter with me is that I am poor. You don't know what that means at home. Mind, I won't say they have ever complained. They've all been wonderful. They've been proud of my poverty. They've even joked about it quite often, but my wife has had a very poor time of it. She has been quite resigned. There, you see, Mrs. Hushabye, I don't want Ellie to live on resignation.
Do you want her to have to resign herself to living with a man she doesn't love?
Are you sure that would be worse than living with a man she did love if he was a footling person?
You know, I really think you must love Ellie very much, for you become quite clever when you talk about her.
I didn't know I was so very stupid on other subjects.
You are, sometimes.
I have learnt a good deal about myself from you, Mrs. Hushabye, and I'm afraid I shall not be the happier for your plain speaking. But if you thought I needed it to make me think of Ellie's happiness, you are very much mistaken.
Have I been a beast?
Doesn't matter about me, Mrs. Hushabye. I think you like Ellie, and that is enough for me.
I'm beginning to like you a little. I perfectly loathed you at first. I thought you the most odious, self-satisfied, boorish, elderly prig I ever met.
I dare say I am all that. I never have been a favourite with gorgeous women like you. They always frighten me.
Am I gorgeous woman, Mazzini? I shall fall in love with you presently.
No, you won't, Hesione. But you would be quite safe. Would you believe it that quite a lot of women have flirted with me because I am quite safe, but they get tired of me for some reason.
Take care, you may not be so safe as you think.
Oh yes, quite safe. You see, I have been in love, really. the sort of love that only happens once. That's why Ellie is such a lovely girl.
Well, really, you are coming out. Are you quite sure you won't let me tempt you into a second grand passion?
Quite. Wouldn't be natural. The fact is, you don't strike on my box, Mrs. Hushabye, and I certainly don't strike on yours.
I see. Your marriage was a safety match.
But what a witty application of the expression I used. I should never have thought of it.
Oh, here is Ellie at last.
You said you wanted me, you and Papa.
You have kept us waiting so long that it almost came to... Well, never mind. Your father is a very wonderful man. The only one I ever met who could resist me when I made myself really agreeable. Come here, I have something to show you. Look.
I know. He's only asleep. We had a talk after dinner and he fell asleep in the middle of it.
You did it, Ellie. You put him asleep.
Oh, I hope not. Did you, Ellie?
Asked me to.
But it's just dangerous. You know what happened to me.
Oh, I dare say I can wake him. If not, somebody else can.
It doesn't matter anyhow, because I have at last persuaded your father that you don't want to marry him.
But why did you do that, Hesione? I do want to marry him. I fully intend to marry him.
Are you quite sure, Ellie? Mrs. Hushabye has made me feel that I may have been thoughtless and selfish about it.
Papa, when Mrs. Hushabye takes it on herself to explain to you what I think or don't think, shut your ears tight. And shut your eyes too. Hesione knows nothing about me. She hasn't the least notion of the sort of person I am, and never will. I promise you I won't do anything I don't want to do and mean to do for my own sake.
You are quite sure.
Quite sure. Now you must go away and leave me to talk to Mrs. Hushabye.
But I should like to hear. Shall I be in the way?
I'd rather like to talk to her alone.
Oh, well. I know what a nuisance parents are, my dear. I will be good and go. By the way, do you remember the address of that professional who woke me up? Don't you think I'd better telegraph to him?
It's too late to telegraph tonight.
Yes, I suppose so. I do hope he'll wake up in the course of the night.
Hesione, what the devil do you mean by making mischief with my father about Mangan?
Don't you dare speak to me like that, you little minx. Remember that you are in my house.
Stop. Why don't you mind your own business? What is it to you whether I choose to marry Mangan or not?
Do you suppose you can bully me, you miserable little matrimonial adventurer?
Every woman who hasn't any money is a matrimonial adventurer. It's easier for you to talk. You have never known what it is to want money. And you can pick up men as if they were daisies. I am poor and respectable.
Oh, respectable! How did you pick up Mangan? How did you pick up my husband? You have the audacity to tell me that I am
a siren. Oh. And so you are. You were born to lead men by the nose. If you weren't, Marcus would have waited for me, perhaps.
Oh, my poor Ellie. My pettykins, my unhappy darling, I am so sorry about Hector. But what can I do? It's not my fault. I'd give him to you if I could.
I don't blame you for that.
Oh, what a brute I was to quarrel with you and call you names. Do kiss me and say you're not angry with me.
Oh, don't slop and gush and be sentimental. Don't you see that unless I can be as hard as nails, I shall go mad? I don't care a damn about you calling me names. Do you think a woman in my situation can feel a few hard words?
Poor little woman. Poor little situation.
Oh, I suppose you think you're being sympathetic. But you are just foolish and stupid and selfish. When you see me getting a smasher right in the face, that kills a whole part of my life. The best part. That can never come again. And you think you can help me over it by a little coaxing and kissing when I want all the strength I can get to lean on. Something iron, something stony. I don't care how cruel it is. You go all mushy and want to slobber over me. I'm not angry. I'm not unfriendly, but for God's sake, pull yourself together. Don't think that because you're on velvet and always have been, women who are in hell can take it as easily as you.
Very well. But I warn you that when I am neither coaxing nor kissing nor laughing, I am just wondering how much longer I can stand living in this cruel, damnable world. You object to the siren? Well, I will drop the siren. You want to rest your wounded bosom against a grindstone? Well, Here is the grindstone.
That's better. You really have the trick of falling in with everyone's mood, but you don't understand because you are not the sort of man for whom there is only one man and only one chance.
I certainly don't understand how your marrying that object will console you for not being able to marry Hector.
Perhaps you don't understand why I was quite a nice girl this morning, and I am now neither a girl nor particularly nice.
Oh, yes, I do. It's because you have made up your mind to do something despicable and wicked.
I don't think so, Hesione. I must make the best of my ruined house.
Pooh, you'll get over it. Your house isn't ruined.
Of course I shall get over it. You don't suppose I'm going to sit down and die of a broken heart, I hope, or be an old maid living on a pittance from the Sick and Indignant Broomkeepers Association. But my heart is broke, all the same. And what I mean by that is that I know that what has happened to me with Marcus will not happen to me ever again. In the world, for me, there is a Marcus and a lot of other men of whom one is just the same as another. Well, if I can't have love, that's no reason why I should have poverty. If Mangan has nothing else, he has money.
Are there no young men with money?
Not within my reach. Besides, a young man would have the right to expect love from me and would perhaps leave me when he found I could not give it to him. Rich young men can get rid of their wives, pretty cheaply. But this object, as you call him, can expect nothing more from me than I am prepared to give him.
He will be your owner, remember. If he buys you, he will make the bargain pay him and not you. Ask your father.
You need not trouble on that score, Hesione. I have more to give Boss Mangan than he has to give me. It is I who am buying him. That's a pretty good price, too, I think. Women are better at that sort of bargain than men. I've taken the boss's measure, and 10 Boss Mangans shall not prevent me doing far more as I please as his wife than I have ever been able to do as a poor girl. Shall they, boss? I think not. I shall not have to spend most of my time wondering how long my gloves will last anyway.
Ellie, you are a wicked, sordid little beast, and to think that I actually condescended to fascinate that creature there to save you from him. Well, let me tell you this, if you make this disgusting match, you will never see Hector again if I can help it.
I nailed Mangan by telling him that if he did not marry me, he should never see you again.
Oh!
You see, I am not unprepared for your playing that trump against me. Will you just try it? That's all. I should have made a man of Marcus, not a household pet.
You dare!
Set him thinking about me if you dare.
Well, of all the impudent little fiends I ever met, Hector says there is a certain point at which the only answer you can give to a man who breaks all the rules is to knock him down. What would you say if I were to box your ears?
I should pull your hair.
That wouldn't hurt me. Perhaps it comes off at night.
Oh, you don't mean to say, Hesione, that your beautiful black hair is false.
Don't tell Hector. He believes in it.
Oh, even the hair that ensnared him is false. Everything. False.
Pull it and try. Other women can snare men in their hair, but I can swing a baby on mine. Ha ha ha! You can't do that.
No. You've stolen my babies.
Oh, Pettykins, don't make me cry. You know what you said about my making a household pet of him is a little true. Perhaps he ought to have waited for you. Would any other woman on earth forgive you?
What right had you to take him all for yourself? There, you couldn't help it. Neither of us could help it. He couldn't help it. No, don't say anything more. I can't bear it. Let us wake the object. Wake up. Do you hear? You are to wake up at once. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
Ah! Wake up! Oh, so you think I've been asleep, do you? You throw me into a trance, and I can't move hand or foot. I might have been buried alive. Mercy, I wasn't. And then you think I was only asleep. If you'd let me drop 2 times, you'd have rolled me about. My nose would have been flattened for life against the floor. But I found you all out anyhow. I know what sort of people I'm among now. I've heard every word you've said, you and your precious father, and you too. Oh, so I'm an object, am I? I'm a thing, am I? I'm a fool who has enough sense to feed himself properly, am I? I'm afraid for the men who would starve if it weren't for the wages I give them, am I? I'm nothing but a disgusting old skinflint to be made a convenience of by designing women and fool managers of my works, am I?
Mr. Mangan, you are bound in honour to obliterate from your mind all you heard while you were pretending to be asleep. It was not meant for you to hear.
Pretending to be asleep? Do you think, if I was only pretending, that I would sprawled there helpless and listened to such unfairness, such lies, such injustice and plotting and backbiting and slandering of me? If I could have told you what I thought of you, I wonder I didn't burst.
You dreamt it all, Mr. Mangan. We were only saying how beautifully peaceful you looked in your sleep. That was all, wasn't it, Ellie? Believe me, Mr. Mangan, all those unpleasant things came into your mind in the last half second before you woke. Ellie rubbed your hair the wrong way, and the disagreeable sensation suggested a disagreeable dream.
Oh, I believe in dreams.
Oh, so do I. But they go by contraries, don't they?
And I shan't forget, to my dying day, that when you gave me the glad eye that time in the garden, you were making a fool of me. Now that was a dirty, low, mean thing to do. You had no right to let me come near you if I disgusted you. It isn't my fault I'm old and haven't a mustache, like a bronze candlestick, as your husband has. There are things no decent woman would do to a man. Like a man hitting a woman in the breast.
Don't cry. I can't bear it. Have I broken your heart? I didn't know you had one. How could I?
I'm a man, ain't I?
Oh, no. Not what I call a man. Only a boss. Just that and nothing else. What business has a boss with a heart?
Then you're not sorry a bit for what you did, nor ashamed.
Oh, I was ashamed for the first time in my life when you said that about hitting a woman in the breast and I found out what I'd done. My very bones blushed red. You've had your revenge, boss. Aren't you satisfied?
Serve you right. You hear? Serve you right. You're just cruel. Cruel!
Yes. Cruelty would be delicious if one could only find some sort of cruelty that didn't really hurt. By the way, what's your name? It's not really Boss, is it?
You want to know my name's Alfred.
Alfred! Ellie! He was christened after Tennyson!
I was christened after my uncle. Never had a penny from him, damn him. What of it?
It comes to me suddenly that you are a real person, that you had a mother like everyone else.
You have a nerve.
Alf.
You have nerve.
And you have a heart, Alfie. A whimpering little heart, but a real one. Now, run and make it up with Ellie. She has had time to think what to say to you, which is more than I had.
That woman has a pair of hands that go right through you.
Still in love with her, in spite of all that we said about you.
Are all women like you two? Do you never think of anything about a man except what they can get out of him? You weren't even thinking about me. You're only thinking about, whether your gloves would last.
I shall not have to think about that when we are married.
Oh, and you think I'm going to marry you after what I've heard?
You heard nothing from me that I did not tell you before.
Well, perhaps you think I can't do without you.
I think you would feel lonely without us all now, after coming to know us so well.
Oh, am I never to have the last word?
There is a soul in torment here. What is the matter?
This girl doesn't want to spend her life wondering how long her gloves will last.
Don't wear any. I never do.
Is anything the matter?
This gentleman wants to know, is he never to have the last word?
Oh, I shouldn't let him have it, my dear. The important thing is not to have the last word, but to have your own way.
Well, she wants both.
You don't get them, Mr. Mangan. Providence always has the last word.
Oh, God. Now you're going to come on religion over me. Is this house a man? In this house, a man's mind might as well be a football. That's it. I'm going.
Whither away, Boss Mangan?
The hell out of this house. Let that be enough for you and all here.
You are welcome to come. You are free to go. The wide earth, the high seas, and the spacious skies are waiting for you outside.
But your things, Mr. Mangan, your bag, your comb and brushes, your pyjamas.
Why should the escaping slave take his chains with him?
Ah, that's right, Hushabye. Keep the pajamas, my lady, and much good may they do you.
Let us all go into the night and leave everything behind us.
No. You stay where you are, the lot of you. I would no company, especially female company.
Let him go. He is unhappy here. He is angry with us.
Go, Boss Mangan. And when you have found the land where there is happiness and where there are no women, send me its latitude and longitude, and I will join you there.
You will certainly not be comfortable without your luggage, Mr. Mangan.
Oh, go. Why don't you go? It is a heavenly night. You can sleep on the heath. Take my waterproof to lie on. It's hanging up in the hall.
Breakfast at 9, unless you prefer to breakfast with the captain at 6.
Good night, Alfred.
Alfred? Randall, Mangan's Christian name is Alfred.
Then Hesione wins her bet.
They wouldn't believe me, Alf.
Is there any more of you coming in to look at me as if I'm the latest thing in a menagerie?
You are the latest thing in this menagerie.
Fall of furniture is heard from upstairs, then a pistol shot and a yell of pain.
Help! A burglar! Help!
Burglar?
No, Hector, you'll be shot.
Oh, my diamonds!
All hands aloft!
Is Papa shot?
Are you frightened, Alf?
No, it ain't my house, thank God.
If they catch a burglar, shall we have to go into court as witnesses and be asked all sorts of questions about our private lives?
No, you won't be believed if you tell the truth.
Mazzini, with a dueling pistol in his hand, comes from the hall.
My dear Mrs. Hushabye, I might have killed him. I hope you won't believe I really intended to.
Keep your eye on this door, Mangan. I'll look after the other.
What has happened?
Well, your housekeeper told me there was somebody upstairs, and he gave me a pistol that Mr. Hushabye had been practicing with. I thought you would frighten him, but it went off at first touch.
Yes, and it took the skin off my ear. Precious near took the top off my head. Why don't you have a proper revolver instead of a thing like that? Goes off as much as blow on it.
One of my dueling pistols.
He put his hand up and said it was a fair cop.
So it was. Send for the police.
No, by thunder. It was not a fair cut. We were 4-1.
Well, what will they do to him?
10 years. Beginning with solitary. 10 years off my life.
You should have thought of that before you stole my diamonds.
Well, you've got them back, lady, haven't you? Can you give me back the years of my life you're going to take from me?
Oh, we can't bury a man alive for 10 years for a few diamonds.
10 little shining diamonds. 10 long, black years.
Think what it is for us to be dragged through the horrors of criminal court and have all our family affairs in the papers. If Hastings could order you a good beating and send you away, I shouldn't mind. But here in England, there is no real protection for any respectable person.
I'm too old to be given a hiding, lady. Send for the police, have done with it. It's only just and right you should.
It is neither just nor right that we should be put to a lot of inconvenience to gratify your moral enthusiasm, my friend. You'd better get out while you have the chance.
No, I must work my sin off my conscience. This come as a sort of call to me. Let me spend the rest of my life repenting in a cell. I shall have my reward from above.
Oh, very burglars can't behave naturally in this house.
My good sir, you must work out your salvation at somebody else's expense. Nobody here is going to charge you.
Oh, you won't charge me, won't you?
Nope. I'm sorry to be inhospitable, but will you kindly leave the house?
Right. I'll go to the police station, give myself up.
No,
No.
clear out.
You
man.
mustn't
Don't be so
How
silly.
silly.
Don't be a fool.
As
Can't
you
you
are
repent at home?
told.
It's compounding a felony, you know.
Oh, this is utterly ridiculous. Are we to be forced to prosecute this man when we don't want to?
Am I to be robbed of my salvation? To save you the trouble of spending a day at the sessions? Is that justice? Is it right? Is it fair to me?
Oh, come. Let me show you how you can turn your very crimes to account. Why not set up as a locksmith? You must know more about locks than most honest men.
That's true, sir. But couldn't set up a locksmith under £20.
Well, you can easily steal £20. You'll find it in the nearest bank.
Oh, what a thing for a gentleman to put into the head of a poor criminal scrambling out of the bottomless pit, as it were. Oh, shame on you, sir. Oh, God, forgive you.
Really, Randall.
It seems to me that we shall have to take up a collection for this inopportunely contrite sinner.
£20 is ridiculous.
I shall have to buy a lot of tools, lady.
Nonsense, you have your burgling kit.
What's a jimmy and a centre bit and an acetylene welding plant and a bunch of skeleton keys? I shall want a forge and a smithy and a shop and 15s. Can't hardly do it for 20.
My worthy friend, we haven't got £20.
Could raise it among you, can't you?
Give him a sovereign, Hector, and get rid of him.
There, off with you.
Promise nothing. If more on you than a quid, all the lot of you, I mean.
Oh, let us prosecute him and have done with it. I have a conscience too, I hope, and I do not feel at all sure that we have any right to let him go, especially if he's going to be greedy and impertinent.
All right, lady, all right. I've no wish to be anything but agreeable. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you kindly.
What's this? Are there two of you?
Oh, my good Lord, what have I done? Don't tell me it's your house I've broken into, Captain Shotover.
Is this your daughter?
How do I know, Captain? You know the sort of life you and me has led. Any young lady of that age might be my daughter anywhere in the wide world, as you might say.
You are not Billy Dunn. This is Billy Dunn. Why have you imposed on me?
Have you been giving yourself out to be me? You? Then I blew my head off, shooting yourself in a manner of speaking.
My dear Captain Shotover, ever since I came into this house, I've done hardly anything but assure you that I am not Mr. William Dunn, but Mazzini Dunn, a very different person.
He don't belong to my branch, Captain. There's two sets in the family, the thinking Dunns and the drinking Dunns, each going their own ways. I'm a drinking Dunn. He's a thinking Dunn. But that didn't give him right to shoot me.
So you've turned burglar, have you?
No, Captain. I wouldn't disgrace our old C. Colin by such a thing. I'm no burglar.
What were you doing with my diamonds?
What did you break into the house for if you're no burglar?
You mistook the house for your own and came in by the wrong window, eh?
Well, it's no use my telling you a lie. Could take in most captains, but not Captain Shotover, because he sold himself to the devil in Zanzibar. and can divine water, spot gold, explode a cartridge in your pocket with a glance of his eye, and see the truth hidden in the heart of a man. But I'm no burglar.
Are you an honest man?
I don't set up to be better than my fellow creatures, never did, as you well know, Captain. But what I do is innocent and pious. I inquire about for houses where the right sort of people live, work it, same as I worked it here, break into the house, put a few spoons or diamonds in my pocket, make a noise, get caught, take up a collection. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to get caught when you're actually trying to. I have knocked over all the chairs in a room without a soul paying attention to me. In the end, I have had to walk out and leave the job.
When that happens, do you put back the spoons and diamonds?
Well, I don't fly in the face of Providence, if that's what you mean.
Guinness, you remember this man?
I should think I do, seeing I was married to him, the blackguard.
Married to him?
Hey, it wasn't legal. I've been married to no end of women. No use coming that over me.
Take him to the forecastle.
Well, you suppose you mean the kitchen? They won't have him there. He expects servants to keep company with thieves and all sorts.
Land thieves and water thieves are the same flesh and blood. I'll have no bosun on my quarter deck. Off with you both.
Yes, Captain.
Will it be safe to have him in the house like that?
Why didn't you shoot him, sir? If I'd known who he was, I'd have shot him myself.
Oh, do sit down, everybody. So, Billy Dunn was poor nurse's little romance. I knew there had been someone.
They will fight their battles over again and enjoy themselves immensely.
You are not married and you know nothing about it, Randall. Hold your tongue.
Tyrant!
Well, we have had a very exciting evening. Everything will be an anticlimax after it. We'd better all go to bed.
Another burglar may turn up.
Oh, impossible. I hope not.
Why not? There is more than one burglar in England.
What do you say, Alf?
No, I don't matter. I'm forgotten. The burglar had put my nose out of joint. Just shove me in a corner and have done with me.
Would you like a walk on the heath, Alfred, with me?
Oh, Mr. Mangan, it will do you good. The cyanide will soothe you.
Come, Alfred. There is a moon. It's like the night in Tristan and Isolde.
How can you have the face, the heart?
What an extraordinary way to behave. What is the matter with the man?
Heart is breaking. That's all. It's a curious sensation. The sort of pain that goes mercifully beyond our powers of feeling. When your heart is broken and your boat is burned, nothing matters anymore. It is the end of happiness, and the beginning of peace.
How dare you?
Good heavens, what's the matter?
I was not addressing you particularly, Lady Utterword, and I'm not accustomed to being asked, how dare I?
Of course not. Anyone can see how badly you've been brought up.
Oh, I hope not, Lady Utterword.
I know very well what you meant. Oh, the impudence.
What on earth do you mean?
She means that her heart will not break. She's been longing all her life for someone to break it. At last she has become afraid she has none to break.
Papa, don't say you think I have no heart.
If you had no heart, how could you want to have it broken, child?
Lady Utterword, you are not to be trusted. You have made a scene.
Oh, Hector! Hector!
Only nerves, I assure you. Ariadne! Ariadne, for God's sake, be careful. You will...
How distressing. Can I do anything, I wonder?
No. Go to bed.
Huh.
Good night.
Perhaps you're right.
Good night, dearest.
Good night, love. I'll just take a book. Good night.
Does nothing ever disturb you, Captain Shotover?
I've stood on the bridge for 18 hours in a typhoon. Life here is stormier, but I can stand it.
Do you think I ought to marry Mr. Mangan?
One rock is as good as another to be wrecked on.
I am not in love with him.
Who said that you were?
Are you not surprised?
Surprised? At my age?
It seems to me quite fair. He wants me for one thing, and I want him for another.
Money?
Yes.
Yeah. One turns the cheek, the other kisses it. One provides the cash, the other spends it.
Who will have the best of the bargain, I wonder?
You. These fellows live in an office all day. You will have to put up with him from dinner to breakfast, but you will both be asleep most of that time. All day you will be quit of him, and you will be shopping with his money. If that is too much for you, marry a seafaring man. You will be bothered with him only 3 weeks in the year, perhaps.
Well, that would be best of all, I suppose.
Oh, it's a dangerous thing to be married right up to the hilt, like my daughter's husband. The man is at home all day, like a damned soul in hell.
I never thought that before.
If you're marrying for business, you can't be too businesslike.
Why do women always want other women's husbands?
Why do horse thieves prefer a horse that is broken in to one that is wild?
I suppose so. What a vile world it is.
No, it doesn't concern me. I'm nearly out of it.
And I'm only just beginning.
Yes, so look ahead.
Well, I think I'm being very prudent.
Oh, I didn't say prudent. I said look ahead.
What's the difference?
It's prudent to gain the whole world and lose your own soul. But don't forget that your soul sticks to you if you stick to it. But the world has a way of slipping through your fingers.
I'm so sorry, Captain Shotover, but it's really no use talking to me like that. Old-fashioned people are no use to me. Old-fashioned people think you can have a soul without money. They think the less money you have, the more soul you have. Young people nowadays know better. A soul is a very expensive thing to keep. Much so than a motor car.
Is it? How much does your soul eat?
Oh, a lot. It eats music and pictures and books and mountains and lakes. Beautiful things to wear and nice people to be with. And in this country, you can't have them without lots of money. That is why our souls are so horribly starved.
Mangan's soul lives on pig's food.
Yes, money's thrown away on him. I suppose his soul was starved when he was young, but it will not be thrown away on me. It is just because I want to save my soul that I am marrying for money. All the women who are not fools do.
There are other ways of getting money. Why don't you steal it?
Because I don't want to go to prison.
Is that the only reason? Are you quite sure honesty has nothing to do with it?
Oh, you are very, very old-fashioned, Captain. Does any modern girl believe that the legal and illegal ways of money are the honest and dishonest ways? Mangan robbed my father and my father's friends. I should rob all the money back from Mangan if the police would let me. And as they won't, I must get it back by marrying him.
I can't argue. I'm too old. My mind is made up and finished. All I can tell you is that old-fashioned or new-fashioned, if you sell yourself, you deal your soul a blow that all the books and pictures and concerts and scenery in the world won't heal.
Then why did you sell yourself to the devil in Zanzibar?
What?
No, you shall not run away before you answer. I have found the trick of yours. If you sold yourself, why shouldn't I?
I had to deal with men so degraded that they wouldn't obey me unless I swore to them and kicked them and beat them with my fists. Foolish people took young thieves off the streets and flung them into a training ship where they were taught to fear the cane instead of fearing God, and thought they'd made men and sailors of them by private subscription. I tricked these thieves into believing I'd sold myself to the devil. It saved my soul from the kicking and swearing that was damning me by inches.
So I shall pretend to sell myself to Boss Mangan to save my soul from the poverty that is damning me by inches.
Riches will damn you 10 times faster and deeper. Riches won't save even your body.
Old-fashioned again. We know now that the soul is the body, and the body is the soul. They tell us that they are different because they want to persuade us that we can keep our souls if we let them make slaves of our bodies. I'm afraid you are no use to me, Captain.
What did you expect? A savior, eh? Are you old-fashioned enough to believe in that?
No, but I thought you were very wise and might help me. And now I have found you out. You pretend to be busy and think of fine things to say, and run in and out to surprise people by saying them, and then you get away before they can answer you.
It confuses me to be answered. It discourages me. I cannot bear men and women. I have to run away. I must run away now.
No, you shall not run away from me. I can hypnotize you. And you are the only person in the house I can say what I like to. I know you are fond of me. Sit down.
Take care. I am in my dotage. Old men are dangerous. It doesn't matter to them what is going to happen to the world.
I should have thought nothing else mattered to old men. They can't be very interested in what is going to happen to themselves.
A man's interest in the world is only the overflow from his interest in himself. When you are a child, your vessel is not yet full, so you care for nothing but your own affairs. When you grow up, your vessel overflows, and you are a politician, a philosopher, or an explorer, and an adventurer. In old age, the vessel dries up. There is no overflow. You are a child again. I can give you the memories of my ancient wisdom, mere scraps and leavings, but I no longer really care for anything but my own little wants and hobbies. I sit here working out my old ideas as a means of destroying my fellow creatures. I see my daughters and their men living foolish lives of romance and sentiment and snobbery. I see you, the younger generation, turning from their romance and sentiment and snobbery to money and comfort and hard common sense. I was 10 times happier on the bridge in the typhoon, or frozen into the Arctic ice for months in darkness, than you or they have ever been. You are looking for a rich husband. At your age, I looked for hardship, danger, horror, and death, that I might feel the life in me more intensely. I did not let the fear of death govern my life. And my reward was, I had my life. You're going to let the fear of poverty govern your life, and your reward will be that you will eat, but you will not live.
But what can I do? I am not a sea captain. I can't stand on bridges in typhoons or go on slaughtering seals and whales in Greenland's icy mountains. They won't let women be captains. Do you want me to be a stewardess?
Your worst lives. The stewardesses could come ashore if they liked, but they sail and sail and sail.
What could they do ashore but marry for money? I don't want to be a stewardess. I'm too bad to be a sailor. Think of something else for me.
I can't think so long continuously. I am too old. I must go in and out.
You shall not. You are happy here, aren't you?
I tell you, it's dangerous to keep me. I can't keep awake and alert.
What do you run away for? To sleep?
No, to get a glass of rum.
Is that it? How disgusting. Do you like being drunk?
No. I dread being drunk more than anything in the world. To be drunk means to have dreams, to go soft, to be easily pleased and deceived, to fall into the clutches of women. Drink does that for you when you are young, but when you are old, very old like me, the dreams come by themselves. You don't know how terrible that is. You are young, you sleep at night only and sleep soundly, but later on you will sleep in the afternoon. Later still you will sleep even in the morning, and you will awake tired of life. You will never be free from dozing and dreams. The dreams will steal upon your work every 10 minutes, unless you can awaken yourself with rum. I drink now to keep sober, but the dreams are conquering. Rum is not what it was. I've had 10 glasses since you came, and it might as much be so much water. Go get me another. Guinness knows where it is. You had better see for yourself the horror of an old man drinking.
No, you shall not drink. Dream. I like you to dream. You must never be in the real world when we talk together.
I am too weary to resist, or too weak. I am in my second childhood. I do not see you as you really are. I can't remember what I really am. I feel nothing but the accursed happiness I have dreaded all my life long. The happiness that comes as life goes, the happiness of yielding and dreaming instead of resisting and doing, the sweetness of the fruit that is going rotten.
You dread it almost as much as I used to dread losing my dreams and having to fight and do things. That is all over for me. My dreams are dashed to pieces. I should like to marry a very old, very rich man. I should like to marry you. I'd much rather marry you than marry Mangan. Are you very rich?
No, living from hand to mouth. And I have a wife somewhere in Jamaica. My first wife, unless she's dead.
What a pity. I feel so happy with you. And I thought I should never feel happy again.
Why?
Don't you know?
No.
Heartbreak. I fell in love with Hector, and I didn't know he was married.
Heartbreak? Are you one of those who are so sufficient to themselves that they are only happy when they are stripped of everything, even of hope?
It seems so. For I feel now as if there was nothing I could not do, because I want nothing.
That's the only real strength. That's genius. That's better than rum.
Why did you spoil it?
I beg your pardon. We did not know anyone was here.
That means that you want to tell Mr. Randall the story about the tiger. Come, Captain. I want to talk to my father, and you'd better come with me.
Nonsense. The man is in bed.
Aha! Ha ha! I've caught you. My real father has gone to bed, but the father you gave me is in the kitchen. And you knew quite well all along. Come.
That's an extraordinary girl. She has the ancient mariner on a string like a Pekingese dog.
Now that they've gone, shall we have a friendly chat?
You are in what is supposed to be my house. I am at your disposal.
I take it that we may be quite frank. I mean about Lady Utterword.
You may. I have nothing to be frank about. I never met her until this afternoon.
What? But you are her sister's husband.
Well, if you come to that, you are her husband's brother.
But you seem to be on intimate terms with her.
So do you.
Yes, but I am on intimate terms with her. I have known her for years.
It took her years to get to the same point with you that she got to me in 5 minutes, it seems.
Really, Ariadne is the limit.
She is, as I remarked to Hesione, a very enterprised woman.
You see, Hushabye, you are what women consider a good-looking man.
I cultivated that appearance in the days of my vanity, and Hesione insists on my keeping it up.
Still, you do keep it up, old chap. Now, I assure you, I have not an atom of jealousy in my disposition.
The question would seem to be rather whether your brother has any touch of that sort.
What? Hastings? Oh, don't trouble about Hastings. He has the gift of being able to work 60 hours a day at the dullest detail and actually likes it. That gets him to the top wherever he goes. As long as Ariadne takes care that he is fed regularly, he is only too thankful to anyone who will keep her in good humor for him.
And as she has all the Shotover fascination, there is plenty of competition for the job, eh?
She encourages them. Her conduct is perfectly scandalous. I assure you, my dear fellow, I haven't an atom of jealousy in my composition, but she makes herself the talk of every place she goes to by her thoughtlessness. It's nothing more. She doesn't really care for the men she keeps hanging about her. But how is the world to know that? It's not fair to Hastings. It's not fair to me.
Her theory is that her conduct is so correct.
Correct. She does nothing but make scenes from morning till night. You be careful, old chap. She will get you into trouble. That is, she would if she really cared for you.
Doesn't she?
Not a scrap. Nothing but make scenes from... She may want your scalp to add to her collection, but her true affection has been engaged years ago. You had really better be careful.
Do you suffer much from this jealousy?
Jealousy? I jealous? My dear fellow, haven't I told you that there is not an atom of jealousy?
Yes. And Lady Utterword told me she never made scenes. Well, don't waste your jealousy on my mustache. Never waste jealousy on our real man. It is the imaginary hero that supplants us all in the long run. Besides, jealousy does not belong to your easy man-of-the-world pose, which you carry so well in other respects.
Really, Hushabye, I think a man may be allowed to be a gentleman without being accused of posing.
It is a pose like any other. In this house, we know all the poses. Our game is to find out the man under the pose. The man under your pose is apparently Ellie's favorite, Othello.
Some of your games in this house are damned annoying, let me tell you.
Yes, I have been their very victim for many years. I used to writhe under them at first, but I became accustomed to them. At last, I learned to play them.
If it's all the same to you, I'd rather you didn't play them on me. You evidently don't quite understand my character or my notions of good form.
It is your notion of good form to give away Lady Utterword.
I have not said a word against Lady Utterword. That is just the conspiracy over again.
What conspiracy?
You know very well, sir. A conspiracy that make me out to be pettish and jealous and childish and everything I am not. Everyone knows I am just the opposite.
Something in the air of the house has upset you. It often does have that effect. Ariadne!
Yes?
What are you calling her for? I want to speak.
Oh, yes. Oh, you really are a terribly commanding person. What is the matter?
I do not know how to manage your friend, Randall.
Oh.
No doubt you do.
Randall, have you been making yourself ridiculous as usual? I can see it in your face. Really, you are the most pettish creature.
You know quite well, Ariadne, that I have not an ounce of pettishness in my disposition.
Oh.
I've made myself perfectly pleasant here. I have remained absolutely cool and imperturbable in the face of a burglary. Imperturbability is almost too strong a point of mine, but I insist on being treated with a certain consideration. I will not allow Hushabye to take liberties with me. I will not stand your encouraging people as you do.
The man has a rooted delusion that he is your husband.
I know. He's jealous, as if he has any right to be. He compromises me everywhere. He makes scenes all over the place. Randall, I will not allow it. I simply will not allow it. You had no right to discuss me with Hector. I will not be discussed by him.
Be reasonable, Ariadne. Your fatal gift of beauty forces men to discuss you.
Oh, indeed. What about your fatal gift of beauty?
How can I help it?
You could cut off your mustache. I can't cut off my nose. I get my whole life messed up with people falling in love with me. And then Randall says I run after men. Yes, you do. You said it just now. Why can't you think of something else than women? Napoleon was quite right when he said that women are the occupation of the idle man. Well, if ever there was an idle man on earth, his name is Randall Utterword.
Ariadne.
Oh, yes, you are. It's no use denying it. What have you ever done? What good are you? You're as much trouble in the house as a child of 3. You couldn't live without your valet.
This is
laziness incarnate. You are selfishness itself. You are the most uninteresting man on earth. You can't even gossip about anything but yourself and your grievances and your ailments and the people who have offended you. Do you know what they call him, Hector?
Please don't tell me.
I'll not stand for this.
The Rotter. That is his name in good society.
I'll not bear it. I tell you, will you listen to me, you infernal...
Well, go on. What were you going to call me? An infernal what? Which unpleasant animal is it to be this time?
There is no animal in the world so hateful as women can be. You are a maddening devil. Hushabye, you will not believe me when I tell you that I have loved this demon all my life, but God knows I have paid for it.
Cry, baby.
My friend, the Shotover sisters have two strange powers over men. They can make them love, and they can make them cry. Thank your stars that you are not married to one of them.
And pray, Hector.
Ariadne, if you attempt to start on me, I'll choke you. Do you hear?
Oh.
The cat and mouse game with the other sex is a good game, but I can play your head off at it. Is it true that Napoleon said that woman is the occupation of an idle man? But he added that she is the relaxation of the warrior. Well, I am the warrior. So take care.
My dear Hector, I've only done what you asked me to do.
How do you make that out, pray?
You called me in to manage Randall, didn't you? You said you couldn't manage him yourself.
Well, what if I did? I did not ask you to drive the man mad.
He isn't mad. That's the way to manage him. Oh, if you were a mother, you'd understand.
Mother, what are you up to now?
It's quite simple. When the children got nerves and were naughty, I smacked them, just enough to give them a good cry and a healthy nervous shock. They went to sleep and were quite good afterwards. Well, I can't smack Randall, he's too big. So when he gets nerves and is naughty, I just rag him till he cries. He will be all right now. Look, he's half asleep already.
I'm not. You are most cruel, Ariadne, but I suppose I must forgive you as usual.
Is the explanation satisfactory?
Dread warrior.
Someday I shall kill you. You go too far. I thought you were a fool.
Everybody does at first, but I am not such a fool as I look. Now, Randall, go to bed. You will be a good boy in the morning.
I'll go to bed when I like. It isn't 10 yet.
It is long past 10. See that he goes to bed at once, Hector.
Is there any slavery on earth viler than this slavery of men to women?
I'll not speak to her tomorrow. I'll not speak to her for another week. I'll give her such a lesson. I'll go straight to bed without bidding her good night.
You are under a spell, man. Old Shotover sold himself to the devil in Zanzibar. The devil gave him a witch for a wife. And these two demon daughters are their mystical progeny. I am tied to Hesione's apron string, but I'm her husband. And if I did go stark staring mad about her, at least we became man and wife. But why should you let yourself be dragged about and beaten by Ariadne as a toy donkey is dragged about and beaten by a child? What do you get by it? Are you her lover?
You must not misunderstand me. In a higher sense, in a platonic sense.
Platonic sense. She makes you her servant, and when payday comes around, she bilks you. That is what you mean.
Well, I don't mind. I don't see what business it is of yours. Besides, I tell you, I'm going to punish her. You shall see. I know how to deal with women. I'm really very sleepy. Say goodnight to Mrs. Hushabye for me, will you? Like a good chap. Good night.
Poor wretch. Oh, women, women, women. Fall and crush.
Act 3, in the garden.
What a lovely night. It seems made for us. Where's Hector?
The night takes no interest in us. What are we to the night?
Its beauty soaks into my nerves. The night there is peace for the old and hope for the young.
Is that remark your own?
No, only the last thing the captain said before he went to sleep.
I'm not asleep.
Randall is. Also, Mr. Mazzini Dunn. Mangan too, probably.
No.
Oh, you are there. I thought Hesione would have sent you to bed by this time.
I think I shall. He keeps telling me he has a presentiment that he's going to die. I never met a man so greedy for sympathy.
But I have a presentiment. I really have. You wouldn't listen to.
I was listening for something else. There was a sort of splendid drumming in the sky. Did none of you hear it? It came from a distance and then died away.
I tell you, it was a train.
And I tell you, Alf, there is no train at this hour. Last is 9:45.
But a goods train.
Not on our little line. They tack a truck onto the passenger train. What can it have been, Hector?
Heaven's threatening growl of disgust at us, useless, futile creatures. I tell you, one of two things must happen. Either out of the darkness a new creation will come to supplant us, as we have supplanted the animals, so the heavens will fall in thunder and destroy us.
No, we have not supplanted the animals, Hector. Why do you ask heaven to destroy this house, which could be made quite comfortable if Hesione had any notion of how to live? Don't you know what is wrong with it?
We are wrong with it. There is no sense in us. We are useless, dangerous, and ought to be abolished.
Nonsense. Hastings told me the very first day he came here, nearly 24 years ago, what is wrong with the house.
What? The numbskull said there was something wrong with my house?
I said Hastings said it, and he is not in the least a numbskull.
What's wrong with my house?
Just what is wrong with the ship, Papa. Wasn't it clever of Hastings to see that?
The man's a fool. There's nothing wrong with a ship.
Yes, there is.
Don't be aggravating, Addie.
Yes.
Demons. Daughters of the Witch of Zanzibar.
Not a bit, I assure you. All this house needs to make it a sensible, healthy, pleasant house with good appetites and sound sleep in it is horses.
Horses? What rubbish!
Yes, horses. Why have we never been able to let this house? Because there are no stables. Go anywhere in England where there are natural, wholesome, contented, and really nice English people, and what you always find? That the stables are the real centre of the household, and that if any visitor wants to play the piano, the whole room has to be upset before it can be opened. There's so many things piled on it. I never lived until I learned to ride, and I shall never ride really well because I didn't begin as a child. There are only two classes of good society in England, the equestrian classes and the neurotic classes. It isn't mere convention. Everybody can see that the people who hunt are the right people, and the people who don't are the wrong ones.
There is some truth to this. My ship made a man of me, and a ship is the horse of the sea.
Exactly how Hastings explained your being a gentleman.
Not bad for a numbskull. Bring the man here with you next time. I must talk to him.
Why is Randall such an obvious rotter? He is well bred. He has been at a public school and a university. He has been in the Foreign Office. He knows the best people and has lived all his life among them. Why is he so unsatisfactory, so contemptible? Why can't he get a valet to stay with him longer than a few months? Just because he is too lazy and pleasure-loving to hunt and shoot. He strums the piano in sketches and runs after married women and reads literary books and poems. He actually plays the flute, but I never let him bring it into my house. If he would only...
He is interrupted by the melancholy strains of a flute coming from an open window above.
Randall, you have not gone to bed. Have you been listening?
The flute replies pertly.
How vulgar. Go to bed instantly, Randall. How dare you?
The window is slammed down.
How can anyone care for such a creature?
Addie, do you think Ellie ought to marry poor Alfred merely for his money?
What's that? Mrs. Hushabye, are there affairs to be discussed like this before everybody?
I don't think Randall is listening now.
Everybody is listening. It isn't right.
But in the dark, what does it matter? Ellie doesn't mind, do you, Ellie?
Not in the least. What is your opinion, Lady Utterword? You have so much good sense.
Right! It...
Mrs. Hushabye puts her hand on his mouth.
Fine. Very well. Good.
How much money have you, Mr. Mangan?
Oh, really? No, I can't stand this. No.
Nonsense, Mr. Mangan. It all turns on your income, doesn't it?
Oh, well, if it comes to that, how much money has she?
None.
You are answered, Mr. Mangan, and now, as you have made Miss Dunn throw her cards on the table, you cannot refuse to show your own.
Alf, out with it. How much?
Well, if you want to know, I have no money and never have had any.
Alfred, you mustn't tell naughty stories.
No, I'm not telling you stories. I'm telling you the raw truth.
Then what do you live on, Mr. Mangan?
Travelling expenses. And a trifle of commission.
What more have any of us but travelling expenses for our life's journey?
But you have factories and capital and things.
No. People think I have. People think I'm an industrial Napoleon. Yeah, that's why Miss Ellie wants to marry me. But I tell you, I have nothing.
Do you mean that factories are like Marcus's tigers? That they don't exist?
No, they exist all right. But they're not mine. See, they belong to syndicates and shareholders and all sort of lazy, good-for-nothing capitalists. I get money from such people to start the factories, and I find people like Miss Dunn's father to work them for me, and I keep a tight hand so as to make them pay. Of course, I make them keep me going pretty well. Oh, but it's a dog's life. I don't own anything.
Alfred, you are making a poor mouth out of it. Oh, get out of marrying Ellie.
I'm telling the truth about my money! For the first time in my life! It's the first time my word has been doubted.
How sad. Why don't you go in for politics, Mr. Mangan?
Go in for politics? Where have you been living? I am in politics.
Oh, I'm sure I beg your pardon. I never heard of you.
Well, let me tell you, Mrs. Utterword, when the Prime Minister of this country asked me to join the government without even going through the nonsense of an election as the dictator of a great public department.
As a Conservative or a Liberal?
No such nonsense. As a practical businessman. What? What are you all laughing at?
Oh, Alfred!
You have to get my father to do everything for you.
You who are afraid of your own workmen.
You with whom 3 women have been playing cat and mouse all the evening.
You must have given an immense sum to the party funds, Mr. Mangan.
No, not a penny out of my own pocket. The syndicate found the money. They knew how useful I should be for them in government.
This is most interesting and unexpected, Mr. Mangan. And what have your administrative achievements been so far?
Oh, achievements? Well, I don't know what you would call achievements, but I've jolly well put the stop to the game the other fellows have in the other departments. See, every man of them thought he was going to save the country all by himself and do me out of the credit and out of my chance at a title. I've took good care that they wouldn't let me do it. They shouldn't do it themselves either. I may not know anything about my own machinery, but I know how to stick a ramrod into the other fellows. And now they all look the biggest fools going.
And in heaven's name, what do you look like?
And I look like the fellow that was too clever for all of the others, don't I? If that isn't a triumph of practical business, what is?
Is this England or is it a madhouse?
Do you expect to save the country, Mr. Mangan?
Well, who else will? What, will your Mr. Randall save it?
Randall the rotter? Certainly not.
Will your brother-in-law save it with his mustaches and fine talk?
Yes, if they will let me.
Will they let you?
No, they prefer you.
Very well, then. As you're in a world where I'm appreciated and you're not, you'd best be civil to me, hadn't you? Who else is there but me?
There is Hastings.
Oh.
Get rid of your ridiculous sham democracy. Give Hastings the necessary powers and a good supply of bamboo to bring the British native to his senses. He will save the country with the greatest ease.
It had better be lost. Any fool can govern with a stick in his hand. I could govern that way. It's not God's way. The man is a numbskull.
The man is worth all of you rolled into one. What do you say, Miss Dunn?
I think my father would do very well if people did not put upon him and cheat him and despise him because he is so good.
I think I see Mazzini Dunn getting into Parliament or pushing his way into government. Well, we've not come to that yet, thank God. What do you say, Mrs. Hushabye?
It matters very little which of you governs the country, so long as we govern you.
We? Who is we, pray?
The devil's granddaughters, dear, the lovely women.
Fall, I say, and deliver us from the lures of Satan.
There seems to be nothing real in this world except for my father and Shakespeare. Marcus's tigers are fake. Mr. Mangan's millions are false. There is nothing really strong and true about Hesione but her beautiful black hair. And Lady Utterword's, she's too pretty to be real. The one thing that was left to me was the captain's 7th degree of concentration. And that turns out to be...
Rum.
A good deal of my hair is quite genuine. The Duchess of Dithering offered me 50 guineas for this, under the impression that it was a transformation, but it is all natural, except the colour.
Ah, look here, I'm going to take off all my clothes.
Oh, Mr. Mangan.
What's that?
Do, please.
Alfred, for shame! Are you mad?
Shame? What shame is there in this house? Come on, let's all strip naked. I may as well do the same thing thoroughly when we're talking about it. We've stripped ourselves morally naked. Well, let us strip ourselves physically naked as well. See how we like it. I tell you, I can't bear it. I was brought up to be respectable. I don't mind women dyeing their hair and men drinking. It's human nature. But it is not human nature to tell everybody about it. Every time one of you opens your mouths, I go like this. Afraid of what will come out next. How are we to have any self-respect if we don't keep it up? That we're better than we really are.
I quite sympathise with you, Mr. Mangan. I've been through it all, and I know by experience that men and women are delicate plants and must be cultivated under glass. Our family habit of throwing stones in all directions and letting the air in is not only unbearably rude, but positively dangerous. Still, there is no use catching physical colds as well as moral ones, so please keep your clothes on.
No, I will do as I like. Not what you tell me. My child or a grown man. I won't stand this mothering tyranny. I'll go back to the city where I'm respected and made much of.
Goodbye, Alf. Think of us sometimes in the city. Think of Ellie's youth.
Think of Hesione's eyes and hair.
Think of this garden in which you're not a dog barking to keep the truth out.
Think of Lady Utterword's beauty, her good sense, her style.
Flatter. Think, Mr. Mangan, whether you can really do any better for yourself elsewhere. That is the essential point, isn't it?
All right. I'm done. Have it your own way. Only let me alone. I don't know whether I'm on my head or my heels, and you all start in on me like this. I'll stay. I'll marry her. God, I'll do anything for a quiet life. Are you satisfied now? Are you?
No, I never really intended to make you marry me, Mr. Mangan. Never in the depths of my soul. I only wanted to feel my strength, to know that you could not escape if I chose to take you.
What? Do you mean to say that you're going to throw me over after my acting so handsomely?
I should not be too hasty, Miss Dunn. You can throw Mr. Mangan over at any time up to the last moment. Very few men in his position go bankrupt. You can live very comfortably on his reputation for immense wealth.
I cannot commit bigamy, Lady Utterword.
Bigamy?
What do you
Whatever on earth
Do you mean to say
about
you're married already?
Oh, only half an hour ago I became the captain's wife.
Ellie, what nonsense! Where?
Oh, in heaven, where old true marriages are made.
Really? Miss Dunn? Really?
He told me I was too old. Him a mummy. Oh.
Their altar, the greasy earth outspreads, and their priest, the muttering wind.
Yes, I, Ellie Dunn, give my broken heart and my strong, sound soul to its natural captain, my spiritual husband and second father.
Oh, that's very clever of you, Pettikins. Very clever. Alfred, you could never have lived up to Ellie. You must be content with a little share of me.
It isn't kind.
You are well out of it, Mr. Mangan. Miss Dunn is the most conceited young woman I have met since I came back to England.
Oh, Ellie isn't conceited, are you, Pettikins?
I know my strength now, Hesione.
Brazen! Brazen, I call you brazen.
Tut, Alfred, don't be rude. Don't you feel how lovely this marriage night is, made in heaven? Aren't you happy, you and Hector? Open your eyes. Addie and Ellie look beautiful enough to please the most fastidious man. We live and love and have not a care in the world. We women have managed all that for you. Why, in the name of common sense, do you go on as if you were two miserable wretches?
I tell you, happiness is no good. You can be happy when you're only half alive. I am happier now I am half dead than ever I was in my prime. But there is no blessing on my happiness.
Life with a blessing, that is what I want. Now I know the real reason why I couldn't marry Mr. Mangan. There will be no blessing in our marriage. There is a blessing on my broken heart. There is a blessing on your beauty, Hesione. There is a blessing on your father's spirit. Even on the lies of Marcus, there is a blessing, but on Mr. Mangan's money, there is none.
I don't understand a word of that.
Neither do I, but I know it means something.
Don't say there was any difficulty about blessing. I was ready to get a bishop to marry us.
Ooh, Pettikins.
Mm.
Yes,
Well.
I know we are all fools.
Mazzini, in pajamas and a richly coloured silk dressing gown, comes from the house.
Oh, here is the only man who ever resisted me. What's the matter, Mr. Dunn? Is the house on fire?
Oh, no, nothing's the matter. But really, it's impossible to go to sleep with such an interesting conversation going on under one's window. And on such a beautiful night, too. I just had to come down and join you all. What has it all been about?
Oh, wonderful things, soldier of freedom.
For example, Mangan, as a practical businessman, has tried to undress himself and has failed ignominiously, whilst you, as an idealist, have succeeded brilliantly.
I hope you don't mind my being like this, Mrs. Hushabye.
On the contrary, I could wish you always like that.
Your daughter's match is off, Mr. Dunn. It seems that Mr. Mangan, whom we all suppose to be a man of property, owns absolutely nothing.
Well, of course, I knew that, Lady Utterword, but if people believe in him and are always giving him money, whereas they don't believe in me and never give me any, how can I ask poor Ellie to depend on what I can do for her?
Don't run away with this idea that I have nothing.
Oh, don't explain. We understand. You have a couple of £1,000 in exequatur bills, 50,000 shares worth 10 pence a dozen, and half a dozen tablets of cyanide of potassium to poison yourself with when you are found out. That's the reality of your millions.
No. He's quite honest. The businesses are genuine and perfectly legal.
Yeah, not even a great swindler.
So you think. Oh, but I've been too many for some honest men. for all that.
There is no pleasing you, Mr. Mangan. You're determined to be neither rich nor poor, honest nor dishonest.
Oh, there you go again. Ever since I came to this silly house, I've been made to look like a fool. So I'm as good a man in this house or in the city.
Yes, this silly house, this strangely happy house, this agonizing house, this house without foundations. I shall call it Heartbreak House.
Stop, Ellie, or I shall howl like an animal. There, you've set Alfred off.
Yeah.
Oh, I like him best when he's
Silence! I say, let the heart break in silence.
You accept that name for your house?
It is not my house. It is only my kennel.
We have been too long here. We do not live in this house. We haunt it.
It is dreadful to think how you have been here all these years while I have gone round the world. I escaped young, but it has drawn me back. It wants to break my heart too. But it shan't. I have left you and it behind. It was silly of me to come back. I felt sentimental about Papa and Hesione and the old place. I felt them calling me.
It was a very natural and kindly charming human feeling, Lady Utterword.
So I thought, Mr. Dunn. But I know now that it was only the last of my influenza. I found that I was not remembered and not wanted.
You left because you did not want us. Was there no heartbreak in that for your father? You tore yourself up by the roots, and the ground healed up and brought forth fresh plants and forgot you. What right had you to come back and probe old wounds?
A complete stranger to me at first, Addie, but now I feel as if you had never been away.
Thank you, Hesione, but the influenza is quite cured. The place may be Heartbreak House to you, Miss Dunn, and to this gentleman from the city who seems to have so little self-control. But to me, it is only a very ill-regulated and rather untidy villa without any stables.
Inhabited by...
crazy old sea captain and a young singer who adores him.
Sluttish female trying to stave off a double chin in an elderly spread, vainly wooing a born soldier of freedom.
Oh, really, Mrs. Hushabye?
A member of His Majesty's government that everyone sets down as a nincompoop. Don't forget him, Miss Lady Utterword.
And a very fascinating gentleman whose chief occupation is to be married to my sister.
all heartbroken imbeciles.
Oh, no. Surely, if I may say so, rather a favourable specimen of what is best in our English culture. You are very charming people, most advanced, unprejudiced, frank, humane, unconventional, democratic, free-thinking, and everything that is delightful to thoughtful people.
You do us proud, Mazzini.
I'm not flattering, really. Where else could I feel perfectly at ease in my pajamas? I sometimes dream that I am in very distinguished society and suddenly I have nothing on but my pajamas. Sometimes don't even have pajamas. And I always feel quite overwhelmed with confusion. But here, I don't mind in the least. It seems quite natural.
An infallible sign that you are now not in really distinguished society, Mr. Dunn. If you were in my house, you would feel embarrassed.
I shall take particular care to keep out of your house, Lady Underwood.
You will be quite wrong, Mr. Dunn. I should make you very comfortable, and you would not have the trouble and anxiety of wondering whether you should wear your purple and gold or your green and crimson dressing gown at dinner. You complicate life instead of simplifying it by doing these ridiculous things.
Your house is not Heartbreak House, is it, Lady Utterword?
Yet she breaks hearts easy as her house is. The poor devil upstairs with his flute howls when she twists his heart, just as Mangan howls when my wife twists his.
That is because Randall has nothing to do but have his heart broken. It is a change from having his head shampooed. Catch anyone breaking Hastings' heart.
The numbskull wins after all.
I shall go back to my numbskull with the greatest satisfaction when I am tired of you all, clever as you are.
I never set up to be clever.
Oh, I forgot you, Mr. Mangan.
Well, I don't see that quite either.
You may not be clever, Mr. Mangan, but you are successful.
And I don't want to be regarded merely as a successful man. I have an imagination like anyone else. I have a presentiment.
Oh, you are impossible, Alfred. Here I am, devoting myself to you, and you think of nothing but your ridiculous presentiment. You bore me. Come and talk poetry to me under the stars.
Yes, that's all very fine for you to make fun of me. But if you only knew...
How is this all going to end?
It won't end, Mr. Hushabye. Life doesn't end, goes on.
Can go on forever. I'm always expecting something, and I don't know what it is, but life must come to a point sometime.
Point for a young woman of your age is a baby.
Yes, but damn it, I have the same feeling and I can't have a baby.
By deputy, Hector.
But I have children. All that is over and done with me, and yet I too feel that this can't last. We sit here talking and leave everything to Mangan and to chance and to the devil. Think of the powers of destruction that Mangan and his mutual admiration gang wield. It's madness. It's like giving a torpedo to a badly brought up child to play at earthquakes with.
I know. I used often to think about that when I was young.
Think. What's the good of thinking about it? Why didn't you do something?
Yeah, but I did. I joined societies and made speeches and wrote pamphlets. That was all I could do. But though the people in the societies thought they knew more than Mangan, most of them wouldn't have joined even if they had known as much. You see, they all had never had any money to handle or men to manage. Every year I expected a revolution or some frightful smash up. It seemed impossible that we could blunder and muddle on any longer, but nothing happened except, of course, the usual poverty and crime and drink that we are used to. Nothing ever does happen. It's amazing how well we all get along, all things considered.
Perhaps somebody cleverer than you and Mr. Mangan was at work all along.
Perhaps so. Though I was brought up not to believe in anything, I often feel that there is a great deal to be said for the theory of an overruling providence after all.
Providence? I meant Hastings.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Mrs. Lady Utterword.
Even drunken skippers trust to Providence. But one of the ways of Providence with drunken skippers is to run them on the rocks.
Very true, no doubt, at sea. But in politics, I assure you, they only run into jellyfish. Nothing happens.
At sea, nothing happens to the sea. Nothing happens to the sky. The sun comes up from the east and goes down to the west. The moon grows from a sickle to an arc lamp and comes later and later until she is lost in the light, as other things are lost in the darkness. After the typhoon, the flying fish glitter in the sunshine like birds. It's amazing how they all get along, all things considered. Nothing happens except something not worth mentioning.
What is that? Oh, Captain.
What is that? Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Nothing but the smash of a drunken skipper's ship on the rocks, the splintering of our rotten timbers, the tearing of our rusty plates, the drowning of the crew like rats in a trap.
Moral, don't take rum.
That is a lie, child. Let a man drink 10 barrels of rum a day. He is not a drunken skipper until he is a drifting skipper. Whilst he can lay his course and stand on his bridge and steer it, he is no drunkard. It is the man who lies drinking in his bunk and trusts to Providence that I call the drunken skipper, though he drank nothing but the waters of the River Jordan.
Splendid. And you haven't had a drop for an hour. See, you don't need it. Your own spirit is not dead.
Echoes, nothing but echoes. The last shot was fired years ago.
This ship that we're all in, this soul's prison we call England,
The captain is in his bunk, drinking bottled ditch water, and the crew is gambling in the forecastle. She will strike and sink and split. Do you think the laws of God will be suspended in favor of England because you were born in it?
Well, I don't mean to be drowned like a rat in a trap. I still have the will to live. What am I to do?
Do? Nothing simpler. Learn your business as an Englishman.
And what may my business as an Englishman be, pray?
Navigation. Learn it and live, or leave it and be damned.
Quiet, quiet. You'll tire yourself.
I thought all that at once, Captain, but I assure you, nothing will happen.
Dull, distant explosion is heard.
What was that?
Something happening. Breakers ahead!
Ooh.
The light goes out.
Who put the lights out? Who dared put that light out?
I did, sir. The police have telephoned to say we'll be summoned if we don't put the light out. It can be seen for miles.
It shall be seen for 100 miles.
The rectory is nothing but a heap of bricks, they say. Unless we can give the rector a bed, he has nowhere to lay his head this night.
The church is on the rocks, breaking up. I told him it would, unless it headed for God's open sea.
And you want all to go down to the cellars.
Go there yourself, you and all the crew. Batten down the hatches.
And hide beside the coward I married? I'll go on the roof first.
The lamp lights up again.
There. Mr. Hushabye's turned it on again.
Here, where's the way to the gravel pit? The boot boy says there's a cave in the gravel pit. Them cellars is no use. Where's the gravel pit cabin?
Go straight, nasty, on past the flagstaff until you fall into it and break your dirty neck.
Another and louder explosion is heard.
That was nearer.
The next one will get us. Stand by, all hands, for judgment.
Oh, my lordy God.
What was that running away? Did you hear the explosions and the sound of the sky? It's splendid. It's like an orchestra. It's like Beethoven.
My thunder, Signy, it is Beethoven.
The light is getting brighter.
No, it's Mr. Hushabye turning on all the lights in the house and tearing down the curtains.
Ariadne, my soul, my precious, go down to the cellars. I beg and implore you, go down to the cellars.
The governor's wife in the cellars with the servants. Ugh, really, Randall.
But what shall I do if you are killed?
You will probably be killed too, Randall. Now play your flute to show that you are not afraid and be good. Play us, keep the home fires burning.
They'll keep the home fires burning for us. Them up there.
My lips are trembling. I can't get a sound.
I hope poor Mangan is safe.
He is hiding in the cave in the gravel pit.
My dynamite drew him there. It is the hand of God.
There is not half light enough. We should be blazing to the skies.
Set fire to the house, Marcus.
My house? No!
I thought of that, but it would not be ready in time.
Judgment has come. Courage will not save you, but it will show that our souls are still live.
Shh, shh, shh. Listen. Do you hear it now? Oh, how magnificent.
Miss Dunn, you can do no good here. We of this house are only moths flying into the candle. You'd better go down to the cellar.
I don't think.
Ellie, dear, there is no disgrace in going to the cellar. An officer would order his soldiers to take cover. Mr. Hushabye is behaving like an amateur. Mangan and the burglars are acting very safely. To say who will survive.
Nothing. I shall behave like an amateur. But why should you run any risk?
Oh, think of the risk those poor fellows up there are running.
Oh, think of them indeed. The murdering blackguards. What next?
A terrific explosion shakes the earth.
Is anyone hurt?
Where did it fall?
Oh, right in the gravel pit. I've seen it. Serve him right.
One husband gone.
30 pounds of good dynamite wasted.
Oh, poor Mangan.
Are you immortal that you need pity him? Our turn next.
They wait in silence and intense expectation. A distant explosion is heard.
Oh, they have passed us.
The danger is over, Randall. Go to bed.
Turn in, all hands. The ship is safe.
Safe. Ugh.
Yes, safe. And how damnably dull the world has become again suddenly.
I was quite wrong after all. It is we who have survived, and Mangan and the burglar.
The two burglars.
The two practical men of business.
Both gone. And the poor clergyman will have to get a new house.
But what a glorious experience. I hope they'll come again tomorrow night.
Oh, I hope so.
Randall at last succeeds in keeping the home fires burning on his flute. End of play.
Oh my God, that was wonderful. Congratulations, everyone. That was awesome. Wow. I was watching that. Kevin, you had said before, like backstage, about you were laughing your butt off about certain things. It was the same thing with me. There was so much comedy that completely caught me off guard that I did not read in the initial readings or the exploration of it just by on the paper itself. It came alive in so many ways. Did that for anyone else in the cast? Did you, because this is a first reading, did things ever catch you off guard? Were there certain things in the live experience that you just couldn't predict or see in the script when working on it?
Absolutely.
Question to anyone.
I had watched the Rex Harrison 1985 version, and I didn't realize. Well, yeah, I didn't watch it while I was reading, so I didn't realize that it was very abridged. They didn't even cut out some characters, but it was played very more straightforward and I guess and sincere. So seeing all of us find the comedy and the denial of the situation was wonderful.
No, I thought the exact same thing Christina just said in the chat. I loved the humor. And I thought so too. It's like, how could you find your way in? Because I saw parts of that movie as well, and I'm like, where did the humor go? That's half the battle right here. What happened? And it just comes alive with that level of humor. And you look at it, and it almost appears like it wouldn't work because it's fluctuating so hot between almost absurdist humor and then really solemn and poignant moments that are very naturalistic too. And yet, when you put it on its actual feet, it really works. It really comes alive in that sense. Did anyone else have any realizations in the moment?
You know what struck me in being together and doing it rather than just reading it is how Chekhovian it was. The sitting around and the talk and the characters felt very Chekhovian as we did it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just talk. I can't see whose face.
I would say, I think sitting here listening to it, I became really aware of how much the men just made statements and talked about the women, and how the women are kind of trying to navigate their lives in this patriarchal society. And I'd just be super interested to maybe hear from the women in the cast, how they think Shaw, as a guy writing in an extremely patriarchal time, whether he represents you in his writing or whether it's just super weird, or I'd really like to hear that.
I found I did not read the play beforehand, and because that's how I like to do these. But I found Ellie to be. I just think the women have. They're complex. They're complex, and I think a lot of people, when they're like, write women that are, righteous and feminist and just, but it's this was really everyone was very complex, and I think just thinking about Ellie's arc, that in the beginning you're like, oh, this like little ingenue, she's so sweet. And then act 2, you're like, but she's so smart. And like the wiles of the women, and like if they are vilified at any moment, it's just because they're doing what they have to do to survive in this society. So, you know, it wasn't without cause or reason, their actions that could have been, I don't know, condemned. But yeah, I think he writes women pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate Hesione. I feel like Hesione is the one who has the least change. Like who she is at the beginning of the play is basically what you see, whereas Ellie and Lady Utterword are kind of like, oh, that's actually who you really are. But I think Hesione is rather more straightforward, which is kind of what she represents in this society, this bohemianism, where this house where you just come and you tell the truth, and this what you are is what you get, what you see is what you get. But she has all of these moments of, my God, what is it that men want? Here we are, like you've set up the world in such a way that you guys are supposed to go out to work and we're supposed to stay home and darn your socks and make you happy and have everything ready for you when you get home. And we set all of that up and you're still not happy. So you set up a world that doesn't work for you, that you still manage to complain about endlessly. And I think it's interesting that in a way she sees the outside world and the structure, the gender structure that is, but in her own house, Hector is not that. That they have a relationship that is where Hector stays home and takes care of things. And so that she set that up. So all of this to say that I feel like Shaw writes women in not necessarily feminist in the way that we think of things, but in a very like, this is the world that we are operating under and we all understand how this works. And then how do we subvert that within that context without thinking of, overthrowing it, but just like, we will wile our way into ruling you because you set up this world. All right, we'll play.
It's it's the nature of the times that when he was writing, that women had to work within those parameters. And I love the way Shaw writes women in such a complex and powerful way. And the other thing that struck me was this, for every character, not just the women, this battle between heart, breaking of hearts, and survival. I mean, what kind of relationship do you get into survive and balancing, the romance or the sentimentality with smarts and survival. And and I love Lady Utterword is fascinating to me in that she seems so, manipulative she is, but and cruel in many ways, and yet she's so vulnerable and is wanting to feel and will not, refuses to go there. And interesting.
I just love the paradox.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I love the paradoxes in this writing.
Mm-hmm.
That like so one thing can be true, the other thing is also true, and they seem so violently in conflict with one another, but they're not. It's like so both and, which I think makes the absurdist comedy like really work, and it's so Chekhovian. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the paradox is almost to echo of like Oscar Wilde approach to it too. Yeah. Like there's that same feeling as well.
Yeah.
So for like preparing for this type of thing, because we didn't get to rehearse, this is all on the fly from the preparation that you guys have done. Ash, you had mentioned like you don't like to read it beforehand. Does anyone have, what kind of preparation do you guys actually go into this with? And how do you prepare for so many things that you just can't prepare for?
I felt like getting the language in my mouth was the most important thing, because Shaw writes so brilliantly that if you can do If you can honor his language and give, that it will take care of itself.
The dialect. I did spend some time doing that today before I got on here.
The dialect helps you inform choices like that you make. It's
Yeah,
helpful. Yeah.
Totally. I mean, it really informs like the manner.
You all did a smashing job, by the way, everybody.
You got the Kevin approval on that one.
Yay.
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, the other thing is that, so many of Shaw plays, and this one included, are about presenting arguments and reasons for why, like his vision of what society is. So I know for me as the actor was trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the centerpiece of Captain Shotover's philosophy? If he is really one of the characters who's the voice of Shaw, did I, trying to make sure that that how you address the language is getting that over and making that point. He's not the only one. I'm sure other people make similar types of points, but I think sometimes it's easy to get lost in the beauty of the language and not really make the point of the paragraph.
Yeah, it's a great point. Ansley, what did you think of that, like the 7th degree of concentration aspect that he was going into? What was your take on that?
I think I'm starting to become Captain Shotover. So most I was like, yes, I'm trying to get to a place where I can control things, and it's like, oh no, it's just rum. That's good enough for me, So it's it's, I don't know if it's really a dichotomy so much as like, oh, I present something to the some mysticism to the outward world, but on the inside it's just, oh, it's just rum. That there's currency in being mysterious. So I enjoyed that quite a bit.
I've had so many people contact me after I said I was producing this, saying that it was like their favorite play of all time. Like this was really intensely affected a lot of people that I wasn't aware of. What does anyone here have an effect on that? And if so, like what is it about this script that echoes such relevance to people 100 years ago?
Well, I could start. I'll start. The thing that there's two things that strike me about it is that, this play really sort of foretold the end of a way of life. And I also think that, we're reliving exactly what's in the play. Actually hearing it today was even more so that, oh, we are reliving. Mangan is what people seem to be clamoring for, and we're saying, no, it's this, we're going to go the same way, right? So that we're almost going to repeat our history if we're not careful.
Yeah, I feel like we've all learned to live with, life goes on, and sometimes we just don't realize how much like we're living with. Like, you think about COVID and look how we adapted. Like, life is very long, to quote Chekhov. But I think that's kind of what it is. It's like, even as like these explosions are happening around them, it's like, I don't know, they just go on. It's crazy what you learn to live with.
Yeah, what a surreal moment at the end there when Hesione and Lady Utterword, it's almost like they're seeing the like aesthetic beauty of war and violence. Like there's a positive experience out of that, whereas the two poor sensible people get murdered. Like,
well, I feel like kind of like I was saying before, I think that what Shaw was really trying to say, remember at this point World War I happens, and in the middle of World War I the Russian Revolution happens, and because of that, revolutions is in the air in France and in Germany and in England and all across the countries that were in World War I. And so there was a hope you know, for some people who were saying, you know, in the United States, all the, you know, the socialists were thrown in jail for saying the working class shouldn't be fighting against other workers. And that happened in a lot of countries. And I think Shaw was trying to say that, like I said, that hope, and even for the Shotovers, the sense that something has to change. Something has to be different at the end. This, what they're living isn't sustainable. It was interesting thinking about, you know, the Rex Harrison version. I watched the John Gielgud BBC version, and it, over the week, a few days ago, and the BBC version with John Gielgud, they cut all the politics out of it. Because, and then in a post video discussion, they talk about how bad Shaw was with politics, how he didn't understand common people, he didn't understand political movements because he was a socialist, and the BBC had to come out and say, we don't endorse him. So they cut all of the stuff that makes the play important and significant, and just tried to make it into a lighthearted comedy. Gielgud does a great job, but I feel like what rings true for a lot of people still is this idea of this is not sustainable. The situation the circumstance and the culture that we live in now, especially the economy, it's just not sustainable. There's too much injustice, and something's got to give. And I think that's where the play ends, at that something's got to give moment. And especially the fact that the burglar and the capitalist and the pastor's house has been bombed. So that takes, you know, crime and capital and God away from the people. What's the world going to be next?
Wow, that's great. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, that's fascinating. Any other final thoughts? We're hitting our 10-15 minute mark here. Is anyone have thoughts about the script, about the performance, about anything? No? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
You're still on? Okay, just making sure. I saw some wavings.
No, I was just going to say that what struck me about listening to this reading today was the inaction and how easy it is to fall into inaction. That even in that moment of this is not sustainable, there doesn't seem to be much idea of what or will or power or anything to do something about that. And I feel that we find ourselves in a very similar situation, you know, where we have like these rises of social movements and then that fall into, oh, well, I guess we can just get along with that until something else will flare up. So
the entitled classes have the luxury of doing nothing.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing he's talking about here.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much for the final words. One of the comments are you kidding me? Performances were outrageously great! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. We're so glad you liked it, everybody. Please check out arcstream.org for future shows. We'll be trying to pump out a bunch of them. We definitely got El Henry set late July. Find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you're at. We'll keep you updated. Please consider hitting the donate button down below, and we'll see you later, I guess. That's it.